ends in 5 seconds.
He's a violin prodigy. Her full name is Maggie the Stallion. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Well, one of the most powerful and plugged-in voices in the NFL weighs in on the Bears quarterback situation and says he thinks the Bears are going to trade the number one pick. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff.
What is Peter King, formerly of NBC, formerly of Sports Illustrated? What does that guy know about football? Does he have any experience in this field?
He's only been covering the league for 44 years. He just announced his retirement yesterday. Programming note, he will join the show in 2 hours. Peter's been a mentor to both of us, and we've been friends for a long, long time. But Peter just all of a sudden drops this bombshell of a column, says he's retiring, first of all, and secondly says he believes this is the way the wind is blowing with Chicago.
First of all, I think he's wrong. I think they're going to draft Caleb Williams because at the end of the day, GMs are very risk adverse to keep their job.
Yeah.
But picture this scenario. I had this dream last night, Maggie.
You had a dream. Okay.
A dream. Well, it's a waking dream.
Okay.
You trade down from 1 to 3 with New England. Mm-hmm. So New England gets Caleb Williams. They have to give up 2 first-round picks for that privilege. Then you trade from 3 to 6 so the Giants can get in on the quarterback mix because there are possibly 3 quarterbacks in this draft. Caleb Williams, 1. Drake May or Jaden Daniels, 2. Drake May or Jaden Daniels, 3.
Right.
So then you get the Giants 2 first-round picks. All of a sudden, you are looking at the next 2 drafts with 2 first-rounders from New England, 2 first-rounders from Giants, teams that seem completely lost, and I don't think can win with rookie quarterbacks. The Giants particularly, I mean, they have been bad over a long stretch of time.
Yep.
All of a sudden, you are dominating this draft, and then you're at number 6, you get a wide receiver. You're dominating the next 2 drafts. You could build a dynasty here. I see the temptation.
I get it, and you lay out a nice plan, but can you really afford to? You would not only be passing on a potential franchise quarterback, someone who projects to be a franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams. You would only be passing on that person. It would have been 2 years in a row you've passed on the number 1 overall pick at quarterback. And, Perloff, you go back down to 6, you're probably passing on Marvin Harrison as well. So you're saying no thank you to this quarterback generational talent. I know that's such a cliche. We use it all the time, but Caleb Williams really does fit the mold. I don't know if he's going to be the guy, but he does fit the mold. And you're also going to be passing on a Marvin Harrison.
Well, there's a new trend. We talked about this after the show last night, that Malik Neighbors out of LSU might be wide receiver 1, and that means Marvin Harrison is wide receiver 2. Or Malik Neighbors, who's much more of a speedster than Harrison. Harrison's gigantic. Could be, what if you get him in number 6? I think that's just fine. Then you pair him and DJ Moore. I think Neighbors is more of a deep threat, would help Field, so he could just chuck it down the field. That's always nice. So I think you get Neighbors or maybe Rome Odunze, too, who I think is spectacular. I mean, we all saw him play in the Final Four. He's great. So I think that's a can't-lose situation. Wide receiver 1, 2, or 3 is nice for the Chicago team. That's fine. And can you picture who the players they would get down the road with those picks? You could get a Bosa, like defensive end. You could get a great wide receiver. You could get anything you want because you're going to have New England and New York's picks.
Okay, but if things don't work out, you're going to be pining for a quarterback. And that's the whole thing. It's the most important position in sports. And if Caleb Williams ends up becoming 75% of what we even think he's going to be, then you're never going to live it down as an organization. And newsflash, you're not going to be making those picks in a couple of years because the Bears are not exactly, a team I think, wow, they'll stick with these guys forever. This is not the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's not that same type of loyalty. You are a franchise that has not had a Pro Bowl quarterback since 1941. And this dude is staring you in the face in Caleb Williams, and you would have the gall to just say, nah, I'm good, and I'm going to play the board in this strategic way, as opposed to doing the obvious thing. Again, I go back to your first thought. They traded the overall pick once. They did well. Do you tempt fate twice on that, or do you just take the simple option? By the way, you still have the 9th overall pick.
Yeah.
And in a quarterback-heavy draft where you have a lot of teams who may be trying to get up, I'm not saying you're going to get an extra 1, but there's still moves to be made where you can help yourself.
Well,
The Bears, that is.
So they hired a new offensive coordinator this offseason, Shane Waldron, formerly of Seahawks. They let Luke Getsy go. I think there is some thought that the main thing holding back the Bears offense was Luke Getsy. And I'll tell you why. Because Getsy's from the Green Bay school, and everyone thinks everyone there was benefiting because Aaron Rodgers is so talented. So he gets a little bit.
When are we going to learn our lesson about these guys who are the offensive coordinators for Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning?
Getsy's got a little Nathaniel Hackett stink on him. So I think that there is a thought. I bet you there is a possibility that Shane Waldron came into that interview and said, I can fix Justin Fields. And not even fixed, because Justin Fields was awesome towards the last quarter of the season. I just think he had a bad last game. And if you look at his game log, last game against Green Bay, they just couldn't move the ball. I'm not sure what happened. It was at Green Bay. But the game before that, he looked like Lamar Jackson against Atlanta. And then the game before that, he led a blowout win over the Cardinals. It doesn't mean as much. He really only had a couple bad games. Now, the second half stats on Justin Fields are not good. We've seen this. He for some reason, his productivity goes way down in the fourth quarter. No, the second half of games. Remember, he lost all those close games. They were winning, and he could. But I think an offensive coordinator might be able to fix that. The dude's 24. It's not like he's Daniel Jones. There's a lot of potential with Justin Fields.
Oh, I get it. And that's why I think he's also an asset. So you've got number 9, and you've got Justin Fields as an asset. The Bears are in good shape no matter what. And again, the Caleb Williams part of this is actually not about Fields. It's about Williams. Like, if Williams went in the same draft as Justin Fields, would he have gone above Justin Fields? Yes.
Yes, he would. But let me ask you this question. If you are doing an over-under bet on wins for the Bears, who gets you more wins next year, Caleb Williams or Justin Fields?
Okay, but I'm not just looking at next year.
Well, how do you answer that question?
Well, I have no idea, because you have to expect a rookie quarterback is going to take some lumps. Or maybe Caleb comes in as CJ Stroud. I have no idea. But if I'm just looking at next year, how short-sighted is that for the Bears? The only teams who should be looking, no doubt, only at next year are teams like the Chiefs, who are going for a three-peat, teams like the Bills, who are all in, the Ravens, who are super close, the Miami Dolphins, the Chargers, stuff like that. And I don't even know what the Chargers will, but I'm just saying teams, those are the all-in teams. The Bears are on the ascent. You got the Lions out there right now having their moment. Jordan Love is going to have his moment. You have a chance to really build this thing. Is any Bear fan going to be like, I'm abandoning the franchise because we didn't make the playoffs year 1 with Caleb Williams? No chance.
Well, last year they were 2-7. They got red hot and finished 7-10. The trajectory with Justin Fields is clearly up, up, up. I don't know that you want to take a step down. You know who has to have a big year next year? Matt Eberflus, or he's going to lose his job.
Well, they should have fired him anyway. I mean, that's just a mistake that the organization made. You bring in the new coach with the new quarterback and do the full clean slate thing.
But you ask who wants to win next year and who cares about winning next year. It's Matt Eberflus. He needs to win for next. I just think owners have, they're looking at their quarterback. They're like, we have a 24-year-old quarterback who has incredible physical skills.
Yeah.
Why aren't we taking this bonanza of a trade? I'm not saying I would do it, because I think at the end of the day, Ryan Poles does draft Caleb Williams, because you're right, there's a huge risk to do this, but the case is very compelling. It's like a fantasy football team. All of a sudden you have every draft pick. And I do think that the teams I'm talking about, New England and New York Giants, I think they're
motivated.
I think one of those two teams could really be number 1, 2, or 3 pick down the road. I think those are going to be high draft picks. Yeah. I think, I'm not sure which one exactly, but there's a good chance that you could have the number 1 pick or number 2 or 3 pick and 2 of the next draft. That's unbelievable. You've never had a team that's had this many draft picks. They could be like the New England Patriots, who you said used to collect draft picks and have all this draft capital and let you do so many things. Like last year, they traded for Montez Sweat, who really worked out the defensive end. I think it would put Chicago in a very interesting position either way. It's almost like can't lose. I'm actually more excited for Chicago if they trade the pick, because then think of what you could build. It is a team-building exercise that we have not seen. If they draft Caleb Williams, I have to be honest, I'm not excited. I'm like, I want to see Caleb go indoors somewhere and sling it all over the field. I don't want to see him go to Chicago.
He's not going indoors in the top 3 picks if they stay how they are.
No, you're right.
You want to see him go to New England? It's not. The weather is basically the same.
No, there's not a great fit for my fantasy of Caleb Williams. But then again, Patrick Mahomes went to Kansas City, which is not great weather. You look at, if we're doing weather, Chicago, Washington, New England, it's got to be Washington. But I think of the Commanders games, it's always raining there.
It's always raining.
It's always raining. You lived in D.C. It rains 300 days a year.
I went to college in D.C., and it's just like it's fall, and it's beautiful. And then one day it rains, and then it's just cold. And it will snow like twice or whatever, and the city will shut down. But the best part about D.C., and this has nothing to do with the football season, March is just beautiful. The in like a lion, out like a lamb thing. Oh my gosh. It's like someone from Binghamton, New York. I'm like, wait a minute, it gets warm before Memorial Day? This was great. What do you think? 855-212-4CBS. Esteemed NFL reporter Peter King believes that the winds are blowing for the Chicago Bears to keep Justin Fields and trade the number 1 pick. Peter also announced his retirement yesterday after a long and illustrious and award-winning career, and he will join us in the 8 o'clock Eastern hour. Peter's been a trusted confidant and a good friend for a long time. Perloff edited Monday Morning Quarterback for many years.
Not that many, because it burns you out really fast. Because Peter King would file at 3 a.m. on Sunday night. He's like, Andrew, I have another 1,400 words on Carson Palmer. Do you mind throwing
You're lucky
it
it
up
wasn't
there?
14,000.
And I'll tell Peter this to the face. He was the worst to edit. And I'll tell you why. Because any other writer, Tom Verducci, Chris Mannix, I mean, nobody cared if there were 7 mistakes in the column. No, you didn't get a single email. Peter, there was a single mistake. All of a sudden, Paul Tagliabue's sending a message to your boss saying, hey, how come there's a semicolon here? So because everybody read Peter, it was the worst to edit. Me and our friend Jimmy Traina at Sports Illustrated, who now hosts the SI Media podcast, we would just pull our hair out trying to figure out how to edit Peter because everybody read it. It was before Twitter and all this was a thing. There was Peter's column.
It's the only thing where when we get mentioned in the column, like Peter pulled out our Emmitt Smith quote from the Super Bowl, or when you get mentioned, it's the only time where I get like flooded with text messages. That, and if you're in the New York Post, and everybody tells you like, yeah, you okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you get flooded with text messages.
Peter's also a savant, by the way, and you know this. Like, he's able to answer a football question faster and more sound interesting on anything. Sometimes I'd have a TV spot or something, and I'd be like, Peter, what should I say about the Vikings here? And he'd be like, all right, here's what you're saying, Andrew. You're going to say their salary cap situation. And he would just rattle off. I'd be sitting there with notes. I'm like, that's the best answer I've ever had. And you just did that off the top of your head.
You know, I got to say, your Peter King impersonation is very close to your Coach K impersonation.
Coach K? I don't like this court storming, Maggie. What are we doing here?
Sounds a little bit like Squidward to me, but
it's a little Squidward. Yeah. I know that reference now because I'm watching SpongeBob.
It's a low bar for me right now.
You just got the Squidward reference now?
Yeah, I just started watching SpongeBob with my kid, like maybe a couple months ago, and he got it from someone in his class. I miss SpongeBob. I'm older
came
than
out
you.
in 2000.
I know. I was in college. I was doing different. Actually, I was still in high school. I was a senior in high school. I was doing way different stuff than watching SpongeBob, EJ.
Okay.
Binghamton's boring. It's not that boring.
Is SpongeBob, it's still on, right? Or
yeah, it's still on.
Yeah, it's gone on for 26 years.
Yeah.
My kids didn't like it.
How did...
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. It was just, it's because it's not, I watched it with them and they're like, seems more like an adult show.
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
Fair.
It was more of that. Like, a lot of the humor was pretty dark and funny, but it wasn't for a 6-year-old. Your son loves it?
Yeah, but he's 4, so he just likes the animation.
Yeah, we're more of an Octonauts family.
Oh, love Octonauts.
Well, did they watch early SpongeBob? Because early SpongeBob is that's the special stuff. So like 2000 and 2002, 2003.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's what you got to show them.
It's the classics.
There you go.
855-212-4CBS. Why not hit the phones? Our pal Brian in Harrisburg, as we know, warrior, would play through sprained ankles no matter who storms a court. Brian, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Maggie. How's it going?
It's going well. What do you think about this Bears situation? Again, Peter King, who's going to join us in about 2 hours, said he believes the winds are blowing that the Bears are going to trade the number 1 pick and keep Justin Fields.
Well, I think they're going to keep that number 1 pick and use it on Caleb Williams. But honestly, as a Packers fan, I don't care what they do as long as they keep stinking it up. I'm cool with that. You know
well,
what I mean?
If you're a Packer fan, technically you still own the Bears. So
right.
Congrats on that.
I thought Jordan Love. Do the fans own the Bears?
You know. Brian, thank you for the phone call. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I think
It's a fun division.
somebody's got to be paying taxes on the Bears in Green Bay. So I think the ownership actually goes from Aaron Rodgers. He transferred it directly to Jordan Love, who now owns the Bears. But it is a public company, the Packers. So I guess all the fans own the Bears too. Yeah, it doesn't really seem to matter. That's what I worry about the Bears. Like all this talk about the Bears, are they going to Bears this up? Just like, is that going to become a verb like to charger?
Just so they're going to Bears it up like no matter who they have at quarterback, that's never going to become a full franchise elite player.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, there are a lot of Bears fans in my life, and they're so cynical about quarterback. They don't ever see it happening.
I get it. Yes,
I would feel it's funny listening to a Packers fan come on, and I didn't actually think if I was a fan in that division.
What do I want to happen?
What would I be more scared of? And I'll be honest, I'd be more scared of Caleb Williams.
Of course.
Absolutely.
You've seen Justin Fields.
Yeah, and I've been pro trade the pick, but like that would be the move that I think, wow, things may actually change for them because they're getting a new, supernova coming into the division. Like they've seen great receivers go to Chicago. Brandon Marshall play really well there. They've seen DJ Moore. Then none of that really has seemed to matter. So that would give me pause. The fact that if you ask all three of those divisional opponents, would you rather keep Justin Fields and then add Marvin Harrison? Would you rather them get Caleb Williams? I think all three would say Caleb Williams.
No doubt.
I mean, I think that's why they're going to draft Caleb Williams, because I think public sentiment is there that you can't pass on him. But I think there's people in the Bears building who like Justin Fields way more than the public does.
Oh.
I mean, there are a couple games last year where Fields looked like he figured it out. You cannot deny. There was a moment. I think that we're all looking at the last game. There was a moment before where everyone's like, oh, no, what are the Bears going to do? Justin Fields is good all of a sudden.
Dude, I think the fan base is extremely split on this.
The Chicago fan base.
Yeah, the Chicago fan base.
The national fan base seems more into Caleb.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'd be more about the local fan base if I'm Ryan Poles, and I'm the general manager. And I think they're super split.
I would ignore both fan bases and try and make the smart move.
Generally what you want to do.
Right. But I think actually you started this. You said this sometime midway through the NFL season. GMs are risk averse. To pass on the number one twice is a huge. You do not want that on your. You don't want that on your legacy to pass on Caleb Williams. It's way too big a risk. At the end of the day, I'm not sure he's going to do that.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Again, Peter King says winds are blowing. That the Bears will trade the number one pick and they will stay with Justin Fields. Peter also retired yesterday after 40 years and 44 years, I believe, covering the league. 40 years. And amazing. He's going to join us at 8 o'clock Eastern time, so stick around for that. Coming up, we do have one team, a surprising answer about an incumbent quarterback. Interesting. Are the winds blowing away from the starter? 855-212-4CBS. It's Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. We're solving world problems over here.
Yep.
We're solving the Chicago Bears, who have all the options in the world. By the way, is it ever, since 1985, has it been more exciting to be a Chicago Bears fan? They're probably walking around Indy and everyone's looking at Ryan Poles, the GM, be like, oh my God, you are the man of the moment, which is good. I think that's why it'll be, if they are going to trade Justin Fields and hold on to the number one pick, I'll bet you they make it last forever. Because if you're Ryan Poles, you got to love this feeling. Like, hey, I have the number one pick. I have an existing quarterback. Come talk to me. He's like the godfather of the combine right now because everybody wants something from him. That's a great feeling.
I know, and he's in the lucky position, not lucky, is smart, where he has the number one pick, but they didn't earn it, quote unquote. Like, it's not like they were so bad that everyone's like, yeesh, hold your nose, stink Bears.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, you were actually, you were the ninth pick.
Yeah, so I think that there is a very plausible scenario where they actually trade the number one overall pick. At the end of the day, it's a very, very risky move, but it's Chicago Bears. They're not the most predictable franchise. So, Maggie, you think it's done, Caleb Williams?
Not moving off my spot. Not moving off the spot. I've thought this forever. I'm not going to change my mind. I mean, Peter King is the one who said the winds are changing, that they would trade the number one pick. And again, he's going to join us at 8 o'clock. Rich is in Chicago, has the pulse of the fan right at the fingertips. Good morning, Rich. How are you?
Hey, good morning. You're both right, but let me tell you the latest because, as you might suspect, it changes around here like weekly.
Yeah.
About the attitude about trade the pick or trade trade Fields. But one of the things that isn't being brought up, and I want to throw this thing out there for you guys, is the wild card in this whole deal is Kevin Warren, the Bears CEO.
Yeah, the former commissioner of the Big Ten.
Yeah, he is a huge fan of Fields, and I think a couple of things that Perloff said are true, and one of which is Eberflus is desperate. If they don't make the playoffs with all the draft picks in 2 consecutive years, they're going to launch him. They should have done it anyway. No one around here is a big fan of his, but Eberflus is up against the hot pipes, and the real question is, do you reload and really fleece the guys behind you like they did with Carolina? I think it's leaning, believe it or not, I think Peter King was right. I think the Combine is going to determine that, because here's the quote from Poles, and he said this last year, which was a quarterback-rich draft, very rich, I thought, having 4 or 5 guys that were top-notch. He goes, unless somebody wows me, we're trading the pick. He clearly tried to justify that.
I know, but see, the thing, Rich, Caleb Williams is not doing anything at the Combine except for a couple interviews in the medicals. The game tape is wow tape.
I think that's revealing. I think the same thing at Derek May. But here's the thing.
Yeah, Drake May. That he's not competing in the Combine? Nah.
No, he's showing up for the physical and the interviews. But if Richardson doesn't wow you and Stroud, who's going to wow you? I mean, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, for those two guys,
well,
and I think loading up with all.
Yeah, but Rich, the thing is that Richardson had no game film. The guy started 13 games, if that, at Florida. It was no lack of game film. And listen, I'm excited about Richardson too. And Rich, thank you so much. And C.J. Stroud, who did go number 2 overall, so it's not like he fell and had this precipitous drop. But C.J. Stroud was always known as the most pro-ready guy, but he had that silly S2 test that kind of put a little dent in took a little of the shine off of something that he can't process information well.
He had the Michigan game. I think the S2 story is overblown. He just wasn't that good that season until the very end game against Georgia.
Looks like Michigan may have actually had, an advantage that we didn't know about at the time, stealing signs.
That's a good point. But I disagree. Anthony Richardson did have those backflips on tape, and that's all I need to see. I mean, any dude who could do that can start a quarterback. He was a really ridiculous athlete.
It is. It's like the playbook. If you want to get noticed at the Combine, do a backflip.
Also, that jump. Remember when he did the standing jump and he beat every other position? I mean, you haven't seen a quarterback with those kind of testing numbers. So Richardson was exciting. And I'm just like you. I don't care how good he is or how developed he is. I'm excited to see him next year.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
But Caleb has got all of it. And I don't know if that's going to translate.
I'll tell you one warning thing for Caleb Williams is Trevor Lawrence, because that's the guy he gets compared to most. He's been the sure thing since a freshman year. But Trevor Lawrence, if you go to the wrong team, you might not win. Lawrence got stuck with Urban Meyer. Then they had a really good year. They had to come back in the playoffs, and then they become the Jaguars again. So it's not a guarantee that Caleb Williams is going to work, because Trevor Lawrence is great. But if you're on the wrong team, it's not a guarantee you're going to win.
Oh, I get it. But if I asked you right now, would you rather have Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields?
Well, of course you'd rather have Trevor Lawrence.
I'm just saying. So even if he ends up being in a not ideal situation, you see the talent that Trevor Lawrence has.
That's a good point. Darn you, Maggie.
I don't know. I think that is true. You'd rather have Lawrence or Fields, but we don't live in a football world that's a vacuum. We live in a football world that has nuances. And
sure, everyone could have Brock Purdy, and it was the 49ers who ended up going to the Super Bowl with him. I get it.
Right. So, when we look at Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he's been good. Have we looked at him and said that he's the next coming, which is what we thought when he came out of college?
He's only played for 3 years.
That's not
3
nothing.
Years. You better win the Super Bowl in 3 years with the NFL salary cap.
Justin Fields just finished he's going to year 4.
Right, but
it's the same.
Right, but I think that if you're the Chargers, you probably feel a little better about Herbert right now than the Jaguars probably feel about Trevor Lawrence at this point. Trevor Lawrence has lost the division to Gardner Minshew and C.J. Stroud.
No, I understand, but I mean, Justin Herbert is also on the wrong side of one of the all-time blown playoff games. He has yet to. Where's the signature win from Justin Herbert?
Well, Herbert's in a different tier than Lawrence. I think
that's fine, but I'm just saying if you're going to tell me that Justin Fields can still develop into something great, then why would Trevor Lawrence be able to develop into something great?
I would say that I think the difference is, I don't know, given where Fields was drafted, I could say he's been underwhelming. I think he's been probably where he was drafted, 12 or whatever, 11?
11, yeah.
He's been about what you would think the fourth best quarterback in the draft would be.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks of the last 10 years, and he has one playoff win where he threw 4 interceptions.
No, I get it, EJ, but again, this doesn't all happen in a vacuum. So are you going to pass on Caleb Williams for what you've seen from Justin Fields? Like, that's the thing. He may have outperformed his draft spot at 11, maybe. We can argue about that.
Right.
But is he been good enough that you'll pass on what Caleb could be? Again, if this was just the Bears making the 9th overall pick, we're never having this discussion. It's just because they did the smart thing and they traded with the Panthers and the Panthers stunk.
One thing, Trevor Lawrence was pretty good 2 years ago. I mean, really good.
Really good.
Yeah, I think, EJ, maybe you're a little too negative on Lawrence.
He did have a good year, and he was
He had a
hurt,
really
I
good,
thought.
Yeah, this year he was, and because Maggie picked the Jags every week. and
To win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Whoops.
Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence was hurt, and I don't think that it's a great coaching staff or a great front office. I mean,
But the year before, we were lauding at how the coaching staff was the reason why the
Yeah.
Jaguars
I think the coaching
played
staff's
well.
fine. I think they're fine.
I know. And
I don't know
I just think
the GM, I'm not so sure about.
yeah,
that.
the Trayvon Walker pick when Aiden Hutchinson was sitting there sticks in my mind. Like, there's something wrong in that building. I think, and that same thing could happen to Caleb Williams too. That's sort of my point. Is as you say, it's not a vacuum. There's a lot going on around these teams.
And that's what that overall is my point. Is that
Yeah.
like, okay, you can drop Caleb Williams into a situation that hasn't been great. Is he just changing life for you? We thought that Trevor was going to change life for the Jaguars, and like one playoff appearance in 3 years. Again,
he's
a playoff
changed
win
it.
where he's thrown 4 picks.
The last high quarterback they drafted was Blake Bortles.
They
Yeah,
won
who's
9. Blake
kinda
Bortles
awesome
took
one
him to
year.
the AFC Championship game.
Okay.
They won 9 games last
with
year.
a really good defense.
Yeah, I mean,
so there's your
Blake Bortles threw
nuance to get.
35 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean,
he was
Trevor
in the
Lawrence.
AFC Championship game. They basically told him to kick rocks. I mean, they could have
Yeah.
extended him. They never did it.
Because the next year he didn't play well.
But he did have one great year,
Right.
Statistically,
One great year, but that's not what you're hoping when. What did Blake Bortles go, 5?
well, he 3.
I mean, and he did have a great defense. Pogus is 100% right. I don't think the team success is that discernible between Blake Bortles and Trevor Lawrence in 3 years. I don't. Like, I don't know.
Now, Bortles was better.
I agree.
Bortles had more
4
success.
years?
But go back to what
Yeah.
you just said.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence's season last year, 2022, the same numbers everybody is sweating over CJ Stroud. They're identical.
Yeah.
So Trevor Lawrence is good. Trevor Lawrence is better than Justin Fields. And if Caleb Williams is Trevor Lawrence, for me, I'm trading to get Caleb Williams in year 0 over Justin Fields in year 4.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my point. It's
One thing is, Justin Fields is a little different though. He's a spectacular runner all
Yeah,
time.
sure.
I mean,
Sure.
he was
They're
going to set
different
the
QBs.
he was going to set the record for rookie rushing yards until I think he got hurt at the very. He's very different.
I do think there's one discernible stat that is different between CJ Stroud and Lawrence. I know we're dancing around quarterbacks, but year 3, Trevor Lawrence, we're talking about 14 picks. Year 1, CJ Stroud, we're talking about 5. So when we're talking about development of a quarterback, and it's not like CJ Stroud, he went to a team that won almost no games last year.
Right.
So he's going to a bad team too. His first year, he's not turning the ball over. Trevor Lawrence was throwing the ball all over the place. And then every team they played that was a good team, or most of the teams they played that were good, he played terrible.
Right.
And that's a problem.
Okay, I would just like to say CJ Stroud had a great rookie season, rookie of the year. His career's not over. Let's see what happens, because there's a lot of guys who have low picks one year, then they'll have high picks, then it will come back to the middle a little bit. I mean,
Trevor Lawrence exactly had 8 picks to 14. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not willing to say, oh my gosh, CJ Stroud is the new Aaron Rodgers and never ever turns the ball over. Let's see what happens. We got to give these guys a little wiggle room that it's not going to be a perfect straight line.
I just think a guy I'm talking about being generational. I don't want to see his career stats and look at them and say those look like Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
They're almost identical.
who Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah.
But the body of
Daniel
work
Jones
is
had
not the
15
same.
touchdowns.
Look at
with
their
it.
stats in terms of touchdowns to interceptions, and I guarantee you, because they've done it already. It's been done before. Their
Okay, but-
numbers are extremely similar: wins and losses, touchdowns to interceptions.
What about games started? I mean, Daniel Jones, again, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. He's had 2 pretty serious back injuries / spine injuries. Trevor Lawrence is available all the time. Again, like
Daniel Jones. Oh my gosh, these numbers
Look
are
at
terrible.
their first 50 or 60 games.
Well,
Again,
Trevor
the
Lawrence,
graphics
you-
out there. I
I
know what I saw.
No, but EJ, you got to throw the first year out for Trevor Lawrence. That was not Urban Meyer might have been the worst NFL coach we've ever had.
Hey, so I've seen 2 years of Trevor Lawrence with a new quarterback. Do you see generational?
Yeah, he's pretty good.
You see-
I think he's
I'm-
great. There were some
you
games
see
this year.
generational?
I see I'm not giving up on him yet, and I wouldn't trade him for anyone.
Not generational, but I think there are 30 teams in the league who'd be psyched to have Trevor Lawrence. I mean,
Okay.
look at this year. Even he had some big. You said he plays bad against bad teams. That's not really true.
No, I said back against good teams.
No, he played good. He played well against some good defenses.
He played terrible against the Chiefs. He played terrible against the Texans.
No, but
he played terrible against the Bengals.
Okay, but
he played
2 years
terrible against the Browns. He played
EJ,
terrible against the Ravens. He played terrible against the Buccaneers. This is all losses.
Wait, but EJ, this year was not a good year. We're granting you that. 2 years ago, they covered against the Chiefs for whatever that's worth, and probably had a shot to win that game in the playoffs in Arrowhead in the divisional round.
I saw Baker Mayfield play with the Browns, almost beat the Chiefs. I mean, and
yeah, but that's when Mahomes got knocked out of the game.
Right. And what was Mahomes doing in that game against the Jaguars? Limping around on one foot.
Okay, but
why are you saying he's terrible? I'm looking at these games. He was fantastic against Cincinnati. He threw for 365 yards against the Texans.
They got beat by 20 points against the Texans in week 2. What do you mean?
I mean, the second game, he killed them in the second game because he was
right. He had a great game that game,
and then he kind of killed the Bengals too. He was 22 for 29, 258, 2 touchdowns. Then he lost 34-31 in overtime. He had a bad game against Cleveland. He got hurt in the end. He played well in that game. He played bad against Cleveland, but that was Cleveland. They're ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, what do we get to the bottom of here?
Lots
of good quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think you're a little too. I think we're a little more high on Trevor Lawrence compared to Daniel Jones. That's a low blow. That's just. That's a mean thing to say about an NFL
I'm just looking at the numbers and seeing.
Dude, Daniel Jones had 15 touchdowns that got paid. I mean, what is this, 1975 and Joe Ferguson? What is going on here?
Let's get to Bogish with headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Those headlines sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Call or click today and find out if we could save you hundreds on your car insurance. A tough morning for Perloff and the rest of Piston Nation. The last thing you need when you're dealing with an inept front office, coach, and roster is bad officiating, but that's what Detroit got last night at the Garden.
Shot clock turned off. DiVincenzo, 10 seconds, throws it away, and he'll commit the foul. Referees don't call it. Brunson picks up the loose ball. Shovel pass. Hart lays up. Good! Hart lays it in with 2.8.
Even Knicks radio knew Dante DiVincenzo fouled Asar Thompson going for a loose ball near midcourt, but the refs didn't blow the whistle. Josh Hart scored, and the Knicks stole a 113-111 win from Monty Williams.
The absolute worst call of the season. No call. And enough's enough. We've done it the right way. We've called the league. We've sent in clips. We're sick of hearing the same stuff over and over again. We had a chance to win the game, and the guy dove into Asar's legs, and there was a no call.
So they'd have 11 wins if the officials were better? Yeah. They're stuck on 8 right now.
Lost.
After last night, crew chief James Williams, who did not make the call in the moment, said postgame that upon review, Thompson did get to the loose ball first. Then DiVincenzo hip-checked him, so that should have been a foul. And again, the Pistons have lost 6 in a row. They have 8 total wins. The referees are not their biggest problem.
I like Monty Williams just getting to the point. That is the worst call of the year. don't dance around it. Just get to it, Monty.
How about Perloff becomes a Pistons fan Friday, and then as this all-time bad loss. EJ and I, before the show, couldn't tell. Does this more look like a safety going over the middle, or did it look more like a quarterback trying to make a desperate tackle after he throws an interception and it's going the other way? Whatever it was a football
foul.
Play.
Exactly a foul.
So, and my Pistons fandom was put to the test last night. It's about 9 o'clock, and I'm watching actually the Patriots documentary. We're going to have the director on later.
Yep.
And I look at the scores. I see Pistons, Knicks is getting close at the end. There's no way. My whole body is like, I'm not turning on the Pistons Knicks game. Life is too short to watch.
Terrible fan.
Well, the bigger question is, why are you not calling Dr. Rock, whatever, to get tickets for the Pistons when they're in town?
You should have got that. You should have been at that game.
Yeah.
Oh, that was in New York?
Yeah.
Great fan.
Finger on the pulse.
I mean, I think you guys underestimate how unlikable the Knicks-Pistons game is nationally.
You should have gotten Asar Thompson's sweat on you last night.
Oh,
The game was supposed to actually be in Detroit, and they flipped it. So it's more insult to injury for the Pistons. That's supposed to be a home game. Because of the Knicks in-season tournament run, they flipped this to a Knicks home game. So
is that right?
So you want to talk about Detroit losing a home game and then also losing a road game, literally.
Well, I mean, the league hates the Pistons. We've always said that.
It's good for Perloff, though. He has a reason to rally around some ragtag group that's being, shivved by the NBA.
Well, now it's going to make Monty Williams like a sympathetic character. Like, dude, they can't win a game to save their lives. The guy's getting paid $1 gajillion. But now it's like, it's the league. League's screwing them.
So, by the way, we have the number 1 pick. That's exciting. In the worst draft in the history of the NBA.
Trade down. See, there's a lot of positives.
Well, also the other thing is we're going to be so bad next year too. That we'll get Cooper Flag, so that's interesting.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, so you'd really be a Pistons fan then?
I don't know, because I thought Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey were going to be good too. Something about Detroit Pistons are like the Chicago Bears of the NBA right now. Nobody can be good there. Thanks, Bilotti.
That's your fault.
Could have stuck with the Sixers.
I know.
That's right.
At one point in time, Anthony Kim might have been the coolest golfer on the PGA Tour. He was also very good. He helped the U.S. win the 2008 Ryder Cup, was ranked as high as number 6. But his last official event was May of 2012 because of injury and other reasons. But now, maybe, finally, Kim returns this week at the Live Golf event in Saudi Arabia.
In the silence of the desert, where time stands still, a journey begins. For years, the road has lingered in darkness and with little hope. But this is a rebirth. As a new road emerges against a backdrop of endless possibilities. Witness the dance of redemption.
That's not the new Michael Bay movie. That's the Live Golf PR machine getting you pumped up for Kim's possible return, because I don't think they've even confirmed that he's playing yet they've got the full feature film montage set up for him.
And unfortunately, none of us understand how these live tournaments work still. I've tried to watch them. I don't understand the scoring or how you win or if it matters if you win.
Let me throw this one at you. He's getting a wild card this week. So his individual score counts, but he's not on one of these funky live golf teams. So he's playing for himself.
The second I start hearing about any live golf details, my mind just goes completely blank. Like, aren't you guys like that? Like, who cares?
I can't believe they got In a World guy, it sounds like, to do this. So what's the first one when in the middle of the desert where time stands still?
In the silence of the desert, where time stands still.
Oh, so this is mostly like Saudi Arabia's government, the treatment of women.
I
it's like where time goes backwards.
When I watched the promo, I think this tournament, I think, is in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Because there's like a Jeddah thing at the end. It says Jeddah and whatever the date is. So I guess that's where the desert thing came in. This sounded like and people appreciate this. It sounded like a promo vignette for a new wrestler that's about to debut for WWE. That's been like on the indie circuit, and now he's making his return or whatever. It was weird.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited for him, though. I love Anthony Kim.
Sultan? I mean, what are they going to call the guy? Some of that imagery is just like, wait a minute, it's dark in the desert, and I'm lost, and time's standing still, and everything's going backwards. This sounds like torture.
And
which they also do in Saudi Arabia.
And if we're being honest, I don't think people were really pining for Anthony Kim to come back. He's been this kind of mythical figure because he kind of has disappeared.
Right.
Not just not played golf, he's just been gone. But we'd be okay if this wasn't happening. Our dreams.
It's the guys on tour who are treating this like an unbelievable thing. That's why it's like, all right, I guess this is a big deal to the Rorys and everyone else.
Yeah. Now, the one extra caveat is that while he wasn't playing, he cashed out a disability insurance policy, which is at least $10 million apparently. So the thought is at least some of that, if not all of that, has to get repaid if he starts playing again for real.
Oh.
Because he cashed out on a career-ending injury, which is no longer career-ending.
He must be feeling really good about his game. He's 38 years old.
Yeah.
Where's the guy been hiding? He's from L.A. Has he just been hanging in L.A.?
Well, he's got long hair now, which I don't think he really had as much for most of his career.
Oh, they'll never know it's him.
Yeah. So maybe that's been part of his disguise. I don't know.
Well, it brings up the eternal question: what do golfers do when they retire?
Right, tennis.
Yeah, tennis, pickleball,
yeah, bocce ball, curling maybe. I talked about curling yesterday.
It should be the reverse. Then they go play hockey or something.
Get a real job.
Yeah.
A real sport.
Go to a factory. Men's college hoops last night. RJ Davis scored a Dean Dome record 42 points. His 7th-ranked UNC held off Miami 75-71. And the Edmonton Oilers snapped the 3-game skid 4-2 over the Kings. Connor McDavid had 2 assists. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you. Coming up, is one incumbent quarterback in danger of losing their starting job? We'll get to that next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. You know, Perloff, I think we knew at some point the Seattle Seahawks were going to have to address the quarterback situation. I wasn't sure it was going to be this draft necessarily. They picked 16, which is not exactly striking distance to get, one of the top guys. However, this is a very strong and deep draft, we are led to believe. Mike Macdonald is the new head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. He was asked about this yesterday, about his quarterback situation, and if Geno Smith and Drew Lock are both in the mix.
Yeah, that's a tough question, and it's one that I probably can't answer right now. But we're doing a lot of work on those guys, and I've had conversations just to get to know them and just to understand who they are as people and their background and goals and what their family's like and where they're from. I didn't know anything about them, coming into this whole thing.
Okay. I don't know how you get hired as a head coach of an NFL team without knowing a little bit about the quarterback. And Geno's been around for, a decade or more. But there was more from the new head coach.
Figuring out who they are. Right now we're in the phase of figuring out who they are. And obviously, one or two or both, would fit into our plans moving forward. But, right now we probably don't have that answer for you.
Just interesting because I thought no matter what, Geno's going to be here, be either a bridge quarterback to another guy, or maybe he sticks around for another season or two. I thought Geno was a pretty popular quarterback in Seattle, and he's at a very good price point. Like, he does not make $45 million, $40 million. I mean, he's a really cheap option and a good value for that. Yeah,
but, obviously you're not building around Geno. He's 33, and he's a new coach, Mike Macdonald. Why do you want a bridge quarterback around? For what? To go 9-8 this year, or to go 8-9?
Do you think that the Seahawks think they can be competitive this year?
No.
Okay, well then why? They have a roster, though, that's ready to compete, don't they?
They have great wide receivers, and I think people confuse that. No, I don't think that. I don't think they're winning anything with Geno Smith, because they haven't won with Geno Smith with that same roster. I think they want to get a quarterback on a rookie salary cap deal starting now, and there's so many connections with this coaching staff. Because Mike Macdonald's part of the Harbaugh family, and Ryan Grubb, who was part of the Kellen DeBoer family. So the two of them have access to all these quarterbacks from college. They're definitely going to draft somebody, right? So you draft a first rounder. Why do you want Geno Smith there? For what?
I just didn't think you were going to move on for him right away. Again, you're 16, so you don't control anything.
Right, but I do really think that 6 quarterbacks should be gone by 16 because you're connected. Obviously, Ryan Grubb coached Michael Penix at Washington. That's where he's from, their offensive coordinator. Mike Macdonald coached J.J. McCarthy in Michigan. Probably likes him. And then
he's a defensive guy, but yes, they're on the same team.
Ryan Grubb saw Bo Nix torch Washington twice. Get him. So I just think there's a lot of options at 16. And Ryan Grubb, I think, has this reputation now as sort of an offensive genius because their OC, because of what happened in Washington. I think that they want to really put their imprint on this team, not take a leftover.
Okay, I'm going to disagree, though, that this Seahawks roster is in such a state of disrepair here. I mean, they really used the Russell Wilson trade to their advantage. So it's not just DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and JSN. You got a great left tackle in Charles Cross.
Yep.
You have Kenneth Walker and you have Charbonnet. So you've got some good running backs there. Noah Fant came over in the Russell Wilson trade. You traded for Leonard Williams. I didn't really understand that one. But you've got Boye Mafe, who was great. Jamal Adams, we'll see. Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon. You have cornerstones here. You have some good pieces. This doesn't signal bottom out at all.
Wasn't Tariq Woolen the most burned cornerback according to PFF this year? I think he struggled. But that being said, though, you have a lot of guys who are young. Don't you want to build a champion right now? You're not building a champion with Geno Smith because you saw Geno Smith, his ceiling is 9-8. I think you got to start to say, hey, when are we gonna be ready to go? You have all these young players. Bring in a quarterback by year 2 or 3. Be in it. Might as well start now.
No, I get that, but I still would want to keep Geno
as a bridge. I understand.
Yeah, I'm actually setting this up as a competition because I don't want to just hand it to a rookie, right?
I totally know what you mean, but I think a bridge quarterback only has minimal value to me. Yeah, it'd be fine to have Geno, but it's nothing that gets you excited because you know you're going to bench him in week 9.
Yeah, but I can win games with Geno.
Yeah, but who cares? Those games are meaningless.
Ooh, I don't know. I think you've got the 49ers in your division, who obviously a stacked team, just lost the Super Bowl. The Rams are on the come up here, back on the come up. I don't want to just go away. I want to be competing. And so I don't want to take lumps and get knocked around the first year post Pete Carroll. I bet there's a lot of people in the building who feel like, oh man, we cannot bottom out. We have to look good here.
I think you hired Mike McDonald because you want to win a Super Bowl, and that's all you care about. I think you want to be the new Ravens, and I don't think that they're really thinking much about Geno right now. Honestly, this is a franchise, John Schneider, who promoted Russell Wilson over Matt Flynn. So they like young quarterbacks.
855-212-4CBS. Coming up, LeBron James gets defensive. What do you say? We'll tell you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's been on the TB12 method since he was 6. She's on her 3rd scotch. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Well, LeBron James is upset. But unfortunately, he only has himself to blame. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Perloff, we get it. We're both parents. You know, to come to the defense and aid of your kid, you know, nothing would stop you. Nothing would get in your path. However, at some point, you do have to hold a mirror up to yourself and wonder, did I cause any of this as we all mess up our kids, whether intentional or unintentional? And here's what I'm talking about. LeBron James took to social media yesterday after ESPN removed his son Bronny, who's a 19-year-old freshman at USC, took him out of the 2024 ESPN NBA mock draft.
So that's like 2 rounds, so he's not a top 60 player.
Right. So LeBron was upset. He said, can y'all please just let the kid be a kid and enjoy college basketball? Mm-hmm. The work and results will ultimately do the talking no matter what he decides to do. If you don't know, he doesn't care what a mock draft says. He just works, earned, not given. Okay. I get it. As a parent, you want to defend your kid if they're against any slight. The problem is for LeBron is that nobody was talking about Bronny going to the NBA until LeBron started talking about Bronny going to the NBA, because LeBron can't help himself when it comes to this. And he said publicly and has since doubled down on it that he wants to play with Bronny in the NBA.
Right.
So you can't turn around and chastise the public or ESPN or whoever and shake your finger and wag your finger and say, hey, just let him be a kid. Dude, you said you want to play with him in the NBA when he was still in high school. If the pressure's coming from anyone, it's coming from his famous father, not from some mock draft.
Yeah, I mean, okay. But all that being said, what LeBron is saying, taken in a vacuum, if you just took what his tweet is, that's perfectly fine. Saying, hey, this kid's in college, it's a mock draft, stop with all the mock draft energy, let him just work, and what he's going to be is what he's going to be. That's a fine sentiment in its own. I understand what you're saying, right, that LeBron doesn't have the right to do this. But again, is this a scandal? I mean, who cares? LeBron wrote a tweet. LeBron sits on his couch like the rest of us at night, is totally bored and takes to Twitter. I just think he's a sports dad. He's a sports dad. Stop calling him the NBA superstar. He is full sports dad, even more than me.
No, he is 50 million followers. He's the most famous athlete we have right now who's still playing.
Yeah, and he'll break down the tight end play of a Week 13 Bengals-Browns game.
That doesn't matter because Bronny's not a part of that. See, here's the thing. He wants it both ways. He wants to use his fame to help Bronny. Like he says, earn, not given. Come on, man. We all know what's happening here. You want to use your fame, clout, and influence to try to get Bronny into the NBA because you're living out your dream of wanting to play with Bronny. And listen, it might be coming from a great place. You know, I don't want to get too armchair psychologist on this, but LeBron James didn't have a relationship with his father, and I believe his father since passed away. So I get wanting to be that great dad and be there for your kid. I'm not saying it's not coming from a good place. I'm just saying you can't be tone deaf and have blinders on to see how this is gonna create more pressure on Bronny, and then to turn around and tell people, hey guys, just let him be a kid. Dude, you didn't let him be a kid. You said in high school that you wanted to play with him, and then we all believed it. So it's our fault for believing it. I think when, if we're talking about this, again, we can all criticize each other's parenting. Everyone sucks at this. Like, we're all screwing up our kids, whether we mean it or not, like I said. But I just don't like the turning the tables and telling us, either the media, fans, that we're doing something wrong when LeBron was the one who put this out in the first place. We never held Michael Jordan's kids to any kind of standard. They didn't make it in the pros. Nobody cared.
Dude wrote a tweet. It's not like he's going around and lecturing. Right, it's just one single tweet defending his son. This is such a harmless act to me that you're making it. He's calling out the media here. I don't know. It feels like you put a lot of energy into everything LeBron says. To me, this one is kind of harmless, and I understand he deleted it too.
Yeah, he did. So here's the reason why I put energy into this, or why I think it's a bigger deal. Because first of all, he said that he wanted to play with Bronny in the NBA. He doubled down on that in a Beats by Dre advertisement, and he's saying and alluding to the fact that the end of his career is going to be tied to a team that drafts Bronny.
Right.
So either that's the Lakers who are going to use a draft pick on Bronny, or it's going to be somewhere else where now LeBron is going to end his career. So to me, it's actually less about what Bronny does. To be honest, I don't really care, and I don't want to put more pressure on this kid because he doesn't look like an NBA player right now, and that's not fair. But I do care how LeBron's career ends because I've been following him since I was in high school. I do feel invested in LeBron's career. I'm curious how this is going to turn out, just like I was curious how Tom Brady's career in Tampa Bay turned out.
So why don't the Lakers just use I assume they have a second round pick, just use a second round pick on Bronny and put him on the end of the bench and we end all the drama here?
Well, because he has to declare for the draft. He's going to have to go through the process. I mean, and again, that's given, not earned. If LeBron really wants Bronny to in some way think that he earned this thing, just drafting him with a second round pick and stashing him at the end of the bench, what kind of message does that send to your kid?
Well,
it's probably the opposite message that he wants to send in theory.
Let's be realistic. He's averaging 5 points a game at USC and has a congenital heart defect and had a cardiac arrest. I mean, he's not. Everyone knows he's going to be really hard for him to earn his way onto this court. So I understand. That's why LeBron is protesting, because he knows that everyone thinks that he's just being given this. The reality is he's going to have to be given this because you can't score 5 points a game and be drafted in the NBA.
No. I mean, he might be one of the great. Apparently, he's a really good defender, which is great. Keep doing that, but you're going to add offense to your game.
I've watched a couple USC games. Yeah. He's not that good on defense. And he's surprisingly small to me. I'm curious how he'll measure in these combines. Yeah, maybe. I mean, obviously, I wonder if the heart defect affects that as well.
Yeah.
I think that I understand where LeBron is trying. I think it's funny that LeBron defended him for the one thing that everyone is always going to believe, that he's going to be handed this job in the NBA. And the truth is he's going to have to be handed this job in the NBA. So let's just do it. I can't stand all this drama and buzz around him. Just draft him in the second round, develop him. It's going to be like Giannis's brother. It's obviously a symbolic move.
At least Thanasis was he was a Knicks pick. Was it second round or first?
That was a second round pick.
Second round pick. Okay.
What's a second round pick matter in the NBA these days?
I don't know. They
Nikola
get traded
Jokic
a lot.
was a second round pick.
Right.
Oh, okay. You're right. So when I'm watching the draft, I'd be like, oh, this is the 57th pick is so important because it could be Jokic. Come on.
What do you mean? Of course. You're not trying to just throw away second round picks.
Oh, yes, you are.
The Lakers will.
Yeah, the Lakers will for sure, but not by design.
Well,
yeah, but you don't care about a second round pick. It means so little in the NBA. If I call you, say, hey, I'll give you a second round pick for a good player, you're like, what?
Well, it's usually trade kickers and stuff like that. But again, LeBron's intention, what we're talking about is LeBron sending a tweet yesterday that said, hey, everyone back off Bronny and just let the kid play and enjoy college basketball because he was left out of a recent mock draft. And it's like, well, LeBron, you're the one who said you want to play with him in the NBA. There was nobody, not one person, who was putting that kind of expectation on Bronny James until his father did it. And now we're just curious how this all is going to turn out. I think for the most part, I'd like to think we're somewhat fair when it comes to offspring. Now, when the person gets to high-level college or like Arch Manning is going to have, there's going to be expectations there. But I'd like to think we're somewhat level-headed in the media and stuff like that when it comes to someone's kid.
I totally disagree. Michael Jordan Jr. wasn't even close. Bronny and Bryce are way closer.
Well, they played college basketball. They didn't go to Indiana. And
Marcus was a good player at UCF. Better than Bronny was.
You could tell those guys were, but nobody expected them to be great at the time.
Nobody was expecting Bronny to be great until LeBron said it.
I don't know. I saw him rating threes at the McDonald's game, and the guy I think he's probably 6'2", and he can dunk like crazy. I don't remember Michael Jordan Jr. with that kind of vertical. I think Bronny's a different case.
I think you're misremembering how good Marcus Jordan was, the second son. He was 4-star recruit, went to UCF, played in the NCAA tournament, averaged double figures for his career, left early. Like, he was a good
that
player.
NBA factory of UCF.
Ronnie's at USC. Well, I mean, great players came from there.
Well, a lot more than UCF.
It's a football school.
There's a ton of NBA guys out at USC. They've
DeMar
gotten the number one
DeRozan?
recruit a million times. Evan Mobley.
Yeah,
I mean,
I guess here's the thing. I think that if I were LeBron, and listen, I'm not going to tell him how to parent, I'd back off this thing totally. And he deleted the tweet, so you can tell already that he knows he made a mistake here. You only bring more attention to Bronny with this kind of defense. And when you write in all caps, or he just works, or you write earned, not given, at some point, like we talk about nepotism and nepo babies, and this is a really big thing in our society. At some point, you just got to let the kid live. You've got to let him live, and you've got to let him play and enjoy it as a dad. You don't have to put the NBA expectations on him, because none of us are.
Can I ask you something about, but why does everything around LeBron have to be so elevated and annoying in a way? Why can't LeBron just, why can't we just enjoy LeBron?
Well,
Because nobody else does this, Perloff. Like, we have so many players in the NBA who have sons in the NBA. The only person who acts like this is LeVar Ball. Okay, like let's be real. Like, LeBron has been the conductor.
This is
chief.
LeVar Ball. Like this one tweet compares him to LeVar Ball.
It's not one tweet, Perloff. Last year, he said that Bronny was better than a lot of guys in the NBA, and that the NBA is lightweight compared to what Bronny was doing in high school. So
come on, LeVar Ball was way different than this. LeVar Ball was a circus when his kids were in college.
LeBron said that Bronny was better than guys in the NBA as a high schooler. Like,
sounds very LeVar-like.
Right.
To be
That
fair to
doesn't sound
LeVar,
like LeVar Ball
though,
to you?
he got 2 out of 3 into the league.
And LeVar's a great dad, as far as I'm concerned. But, like, we can't act like, LeBron is just being every normal dad like every other NBA player who has a son. There are so many players in the NBA. There are so many second and third generation guys in the NBA.
Yeah.
And I have not heard one of them while they're playing say, hey, my son is better than most of the guys in the NBA. Like,
my gosh.
Nobody's done that.
Well, maybe not publicly. I mean, yeah, it's like Kenyon Martin isn't out here doing it. It's just a different style with LeBron, because here's the reason why it's different. He's a superstar, the superstar in this particular era, which is access is unprecedented. He gives us access to his life. I mean, LeBron tweeted this out to 50 million people yesterday. He's got the production company. He wants to be a 360 person, and that's fine. But you're saturated, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing when people are invested in what you do. I mean, I think that's part of being a superstar. We care about what you're doing.
And he's jumping out the window for something that's so innocuous. Like, okay,
Jumping out the window, he wrote a tweet.
I wrote a tweet talking about, give my son a break. Like, why are you guys getting on him? Like, he just got moved from 1 year in a mock draft to next year. It was not like they said, hey, Bronny, biggest bust in the NBA. Like, nobody was attacking him. Like, he took something that was so innocuous as a headline saying, hey, Bronny got moved to 2025 instead of 2024, which, by the way, we all knew. Everybody sees that he's not going to be in the NBA next year.
I know, but see, the thing is the clock is ticking on LeBron. Now, LeBron's still playing great, but he is 39. I mean, I think LeBron's probably going to play to, 42?
That's what the rumor is, that's when he wants to play to.
Okay, so every time Bronny gets moved, again, see, it's not about the kid, it's about the dad. Like, he gets moved to a 2025 mock, that impacts LeBron's decision.
I'll be real. I mean, we're talking about, LeBron, and I think he is defending his son, but I think a lot of it is him. I think a lot of this is pridefulness from him, too, because of a lot of what he said and a lot of what he's presented and what Bronny's career means to him.
Yeah, of course. But listen, he's not the first parent to ever make, this kind of thing. I mean, I'll tell you what, I was at my kid's gymnastics class the other day, and another dad came over to me. We were chit-chatting, and he was like, hey, your kid looks like he'd be great at a dance class. And I was like, I will body you. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, you're saying a nice thing. Oh, I should put my kid in dance. Yes, I think he would probably love that. It was just the instinct. It was like, I'm about to take your knees out, Dad.
But I think there's a spectrum. LeVar Ball saying he could beat Michael Jordan 1-on-1 is not LeBron saying leave my kid alone in college.
LeVar talking about himself is insane.
LeVar, I'm looking at some outlandish LeVar. LeVar saying that Zoe is already better than Steph Curry. I mean,
how is that much different than LeBron saying that Bronny's better than a lot of guys in the NBA today as a 18, 17-year-old?
Oh, my God. I'm not even having this discussion.
Consider the source. LeVar didn't have the same credibility that LeBron has when it comes to basketball.
Right, but Lonzo, let's be real, was way more advanced as a freshman at UCLA than Bronny was as a high schooler at Sierra Canyon.
Oh, and LaMelo's a good player. So, no, LeVar has the results so far, but as far as like the messenger, it cuts different when it comes from LeBron versus LeVar.
LeVar and LeBron are not same. I can't believe
I'm not saying that they're the same. I'm saying that he's closer to LeVar than he is to Rick Brunson. He's closer to LeVar than he is to Michael Thompson.
To pencil the Knicks into this conversation. Oh, my God. I give you points for creativity.
Listen, Rick Brunson, it's not, he's out there getting assistant coaching jobs, making sure his kid gets to a certain team. Turns out to be the best move they made. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. And the general manager was his former agent. A lot of connections. 855, yes.
When LeVar says that he's going, he says things, I'm going to have $1 billion shoe brand. LeBron says those things are true.
Right.
LeBron says that he could beat Michael Jordan one-on-one. It makes sense. LeVar saying he could beat Michael Jordan one-on-one, no.
Did anyone ever get the shoes? The big baller brand shoes?
People bought them.
No, I know they bought them.
I think they got them.
Did anyone here get them?
Yeah, no, people got them.
Okay.
Did they make $1 billion?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
You think that would have come across your desk?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess LeBron is maybe a little more legitimate because I think he's closing in on $1 billion.
You really don't love LeVar Ball, huh? That really.
I'm a huge fan of LeVar Ball, but LeVar's hysterical.
Yeah,
but that being said,
though.
My point is, I think you guys are way overreacting to this LeBron tweet. Like making it a thing to me is ridiculous. I think it's just way too much negative energy on LeBron, which is ironic because you guys are big LeBron fans.
855-212-4CBS. What do you think? So LeBron, the impassioned defense of his son. Meanwhile, he was the one who said his son was going to play in the NBA. 855-212-4CBS. Okay, coming up, NFL rule changes on the horizon. This could be a big one. We'll get to that next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. It's kind of weird for me to work with people who are so wrong about something. It's hard. It's challenging.
Who, us?
Yes, you guys. You guys are so wrong about one NFL rule.
Okay.
And thank God they're looking at it. Who on earth likes the fumble out of the end zone change possession rule in the NFL? So a wide receiver, makes a great catch, jukes 3 guys, and is reaching for the pylon to make an incredible highlight touchdown. And it's not quite clear. Maybe he fumbled it. Oh, okay. Oh, all of a sudden it's the other team's ball. What kind of penalty did that? It's the most devastating penalty in the NFL. And it's, there's no other, if you fumble out of bounds at the 40, nothing happens. But all of a sudden, if you're down at the goal line, then it is a complete reversal of the game. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why are we penalizing offensive players for trying to do the spectacular and not just penalizing them? Make a penalty that is 10 times more severe than any other penalty. You're at the 1 yard line and all of a sudden the other team gets the ball
At the 20. Or the 25? This is a touchback, right?
It is way too impactful. Why do you have one rule that is so much more impactful than every other rule, especially one rule that is kind of tick-tack to me?
Well, I mean, it may have decided the AFC Championship game. I don't know if the Ravens were ever coming back, but the L'Jarius Sneed sort of punching the ball out at the goal line on Zay Flowers, and it was crazy play. I like it. I like it because ball security is important no matter where you are on the football field, but especially down to the red zone. And I like the fact that with all the changes that the NFL has made to help the offense, finally, the defense gets a little nut here. They get a little bit, it's like a squirrel. You finally get a little bit of something, which is dudes can't reach out at the goal line free of consequence or potential consequences.
God forbid
Seriously.
you reach out for the goal line. Oh, what a terrible thing to do.
No, I'm saying there's so many things that already benefit the offense. You're also going to give guys you can already just jump over the line of scrimmage and simply break the plane, and that's a touchdown. You're now going to...
Well, that's always been the rule.
It's always been the rule. But, again, you have... And I could go through a myriad of things that have helped the offense. The defense is at such a disadvantage. You should at least have them be able to protect the goal line in a way that's punitive to the offense if they get reckless down there.
I think it's just so bad to watch. It really just ruins a game for me. And especially if it happens to my team, then I hate it. But if it's a neutral game, I'm like, oh my gosh, why are we hurting this great offensive drive and this spectacular highlight play? That's the last thing if you want to help the defense, start calling more pick plays. Start calling more holding. There's a million ways to help the defense. This little random
holding. Dude.
Yes, I mean that's obviously the key that is the key to helping the defense is to actually call the tackles on holding. I don't really want to see it, but I'm saying if you were so intent on helping the defense, this rule is not going to help the defense overall.
No, but
and if you look at the entire NFL season, this has very little actual impact. To help the defense, you're going to have to be stricter on real plays. This one is just so random.
Well, that's the thing. Nobody really wants to see those ticky-tack holds getting called and stuff like that because the game flow, the scoring, all of it. So you can't just give the defense this. And again, we're talking about the rule where if you fumble out of the back of the end zone, it becomes a touchback and change of possession. And Perloff doesn't like that how punitive that rule is, and I do like it. I know EJ likes it too. I'm not sure where Bogus and Colt stand on this one.
I hate it. It's the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
So you're with Perloff on this one.
100%. It makes no sense.
You should not have to control and have more ball security down by the goal line. We're gonna have guys just reaching willy-nilly.
Yes.
Yeah, to score points, which is the point of the game.
Which they do. And
they
then
make an NFL promo of a guy diving over the pylon. Yes.
Right, and they still do. So what's the big deal?
The big deal is why does in 99% of other equations, actual possession matters. Here, a ball that is misshapen by nature bounces in any way it wants. It goes out of bounds, and the other team gets the football.
Okay, but you realize there are 100 yards on a field where if the ball bounces out of bounds, you get the ball back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So why
it should be all 100?
Right. No, it is all 100.
It should be all 120 then.
It's extra 15 or 12 or however many is in the end zone. Why? Because there's the last 12 all of a sudden. Now we got to say, oh, you know what? This is too terrible for the offense. They fumbled the ball out of bounds. We got to give it back to them.
Well, it's such a random rule. It makes no sense. Why are you changing the rule at the goal line? Other rules don't change at the goal line. Just because you pass the goal line doesn't mean you can tackle the wide receiver. Why are we changing this rule here? It's totally
things do
random.
change at the goal line. You just have to break the plane with the ball.
Right.
That's not necessarily the case for a first down anywhere else on the field.
Yes, it is.
No,
not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Sometimes we had this before. Didn't Kirk Cousins do this famously, where he tried to jump over the pile just in the middle of the field, but he actually got taken back, and they didn't give him forward progress.
Okay, but that's not the same thing as changing possession of the ball.
I'm just saying.
Like the defense and like. So if you want to, if you need for a reason for this to be punished, which I don't understand at all. So then back them up from the goal line. Why do they lose the ball?
Why'd you give it to them at the 20?
Yeah. Like, I'm open for a compromise if this
Which
needs
is
to be
also
a punishable
huge penalty. A 20-yard penalty is pretty severe.
Yeah.
Okay, but we have penalties where if you just draw some contact 50 yards down the field, you get 50 yards.
Okay,
like,
but
there's
that's
plenty of things that help the offense.
Right.
And I don't mind this being punitive because you are so close to the end zone. Like, I'm okay with it getting more severe as you get closer to scoring.
No, you should help the offense down there because you want to, it's the NFL. You want to have highlight plays on offense. What if they made it the 40-yard line, you lose the ball? Would you have a problem with that? It'd be ridiculous. You'd be like, well, that's crazy.
Right. I don't understand why this is a punishable act in any way. I don't understand.
Because in my opinion, I feel like the fact that you could fumble the ball out of bounds and knock it out of bounds just so that you can keep the ball, I think that's ridiculous. Like, right. I think that you guys are actually, you're living in a world where I think that it's actually ridiculous that you cannot recover the ball. And because the ball went out of bounds, you automatically get it.
But that's the world that always exists.
Just like this world with the fumble out of bounds has always existed. They were acting like this happened like 5 years ago.
Maybe they're worried that it would become a strategy where the offense is just anytime a play breaks up, just throw it out of the back of the end.
There are rules for that.
It is a strategy. There's a fumble rule, right? You can't fumble it forward in the last 2 minutes. There's a lot of rules around that. But I don't know. Why do you guys want to hurt the offense?
Well, it's not that. It's just how about the offense has been helped so much.
Okay, then you should be an advocate of if they fumble at the 30-yard line, switch possessions.
Well,
right.
If you fumble and it gets recovered by the defense, it does
No, if you fumble out of bounds anywhere on the field, then it should be defense's ball.
I just want to keep it status quo. My thing is, you guys are talking about, you're saying, why are we penalizing the offense? No, this is the rule. Like, you guys actually want to give the offense more advantages to what me and Maggie are saying. You have every other advantage.
Yeah, just keep it.
But this is the worst rule they have. The single worst rule, in my opinion.
There's worse
come on.
rules.
The fact that you have a spot foul
taunting's way worse.
A spot foul on a pass interference
The
is
spot
absurd.
foul is terrible.
Okay, wait. So you guys want the 15-yard college, but at least you'll understand the spot foul. Otherwise, every time DK Metcalf makes a break, you're going to just tackle him right there. You're going to kill long passing because quarterbacks who already mug the receivers all over the field.
Right, they'll just tackle
going to tackle them.
Wait, but
that's
you can't
why they
do
make
that
it a spot foul.
No, but you also, you would have to obviously put rules in place that you can't just take guys out of the route.
Why? That's the rule is you can't do it or you're going to get the ball 50 yards down the field.
No, but we've already changed the rules about how much you can touch the wide receiver at the line of scrimmage and then you have to release them at 5 yards after the line of scrimmage. So they get free. You can run.
Right.
No.
But if a guy gets beat, he's just going to bring this guy down and get a 15-yard penalty. That's why they do it.
Yeah.
This happens, first of all, happens a lot anyway. So it's not like this is something that's completely been negated out of the game. It's like, just like, guess what? People reaching for the goal line happens all the time. Like this, and that's the thing. Like, you guys are acting like this exciting play in football we're going to remove from the game because of this rule. And again, it's not like this rule got made up a couple years ago. It's been happening for decades.
And it's always been dumb.
But guess what? Guys always still reach out for the goal line. We still always have those exciting plays. So I don't know what the beef is. We're not going to lose anything.
It's just way too impactful. I mean,
well, it's led to some amazing changes. I mean, we saw it in the AFC Championship game. AJ Hawk is in our chat. Hey, what's up, AJ? Says, leave the rule alone. The end zone has special rules. It's a special place on the field.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, you guys watch during the regular season. I think you guys are a little bit on an island here. I think most fans do not like this rule. I think the majority do. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just projecting my own opinion. But I do not feel like this is a well-liked rule.
Sorry, go ahead, Boas.
No, I was going to say, I don't know if it's what the breakdown is, but there are more people on their side than I would have expected. Because it's so nonsensical to me. Like, I can't even begin to process anything else. I think I'm being a nice human by even allowing for a compromise of a penalty, pushing you back from the goal line. Because I so don't understand this.
Thank you, Bogus.
Yeah,
you're such
welcome.
a nice person.
The end zone is the only spot in the game that is different than every other spot. You can have a safety. You can have a touchdown. The goalpost is there where you can kick a field goal. This idea that it should be like everything else on fumbles, also, I reject that too. Like, that 20 yards or however many times it is so much different than the other 100.
Because you can kick a field goal? I don't understand.
No, because you can score a touchdown, you can get a safety, and now this rule, like, you guys are acting like, why can't it be like the other 100 yards? I'm saying there's nothing about the end zone that's like the other 100 yards.
You actually just said that if you fumble at the 50-yard line, it should change out of bounds. It should change possessions as well.
Because I think it's silly that Dalton Kincaid in the AFC semifinal can just knock the ball out of bounds and say, "Oh, we got the ball back." I think that's silly. I don't think that's offense. I don't think that's football.
He got a penalty, right, for that?
I don't know if he did. I don't think he did, actually.
No, they kept possession.
Yeah, I don't
But he
think
got a penalty.
He might have.
He might have.
Didn't they call like illegal batting? Isn't that the penalty?
It was.
So they lost yards.
Actually, I believe it happened twice in that game. I think
Yeah,
the first half he got
one-
the penalty, and the second half he didn't.
Right,
I got to go
something
back and
happened
check.
where like they didn't for one, and I was just like, well, okay, whatever.
Just recovered the fumble.
But guess what? It happened, and I was like, all right, well, whatever, and I just moved on. I don't.
Oh, you know what it was? I think he
outrage.
recovered the fumble, and he had it, and he was like sliding out of bounds. But he had possession of it.
Right,
Anyway,
so that's nothing wrong
that's
with that.
not batting the ball. That happened in the first half.
There was one time where he knocked it out of bounds on purpose, and that's a penalty. Just like you can't fumble forward on purpose. Like, there are rules for purposely fumbling to save possessions or to whatever. Like, if you just fumble and the ball, which is not round, like, that's also too, like, you guys are forgetting that this ball cannot be trusted when it's on the ground.
That's part of the fun.
Like, but so now I'm getting penalized because the weird shaped ball doesn't bounce in a straight line. It makes left turns, right turns, goes backwards, goes forwards. It goes through the end zone, and now I lose the ball.
Football.
Come on.
Okay, so now how come the defense can recover the ball in the end zone and get a touchdown? If the ball is so unpredictable, why are they?
Because they recovered it.
Wait,
they
what?
fell on it. It was loose and they got
Right,
it.
but my
How
point
is that
is-
the same thing as the ball
Because
randomly
I'm trying
bouncing
to
out of
tell you that
bounds?
the end zone is totally different. We apply
Sure.
totally different rules to the end zone.
But
Is
not
what my
all of
point
them,
is.
because I can still. It's still holding. It's still pass interference. I don't. Get
And guess
to
what?
do-
You hold in the end zone. It's a touch. It's a safety. When you didn't sack the quarterback, you didn't do anything.
But defenses don't get to hold in the end zone because it's more important to protect. They don't. It's a penalty. You pass interference in the end zone. It's still a penalty, and you get the ball at the 2-yard line. It's like there are. You think that all of the rules change in the end zone, and they don't.
A lot of them do, though.
No,
Like,
not a lot.
They
Not
do.
a
I just
lot.
said you don't.
This is
there's
the
no
one
place
that's
you can hold.
drastically different.
There's no other place where you can hold and the defense scores points. There's no other place in the game.
Because it happened in the end zone. So I get that,
Which
but
is
also,
my point.
but defensive players don't get more leeway in the end zone. They don't get to hold. They don't get to pass interference more. They don't get to tackle guys because the end zone's more important. The rules are the rules.
Well, they do
And they
get
have to
points
be-
if they tackle the
They have to
quarterback.
be implemented in different ways because it happened in the end zone. It's why the ball goes to the 2-yard line.
Well, they get
Or
a
you
safety if they tackle.
Yeah,
They get a
you
safety.
score if you tackle somebody in his
I
zone.
hear you. Yeah, and a lot of there's multiple penalties in the end zone that give the defense points. I get that.
Wait,
Right, so
here's
my
my
point, though,
question
is-
on
yeah,
this.
sorry, go ahead,
Who's
Maggie.
my question? Who is the person who is going to be making this decision? Is this a John Mara? Like, who is the person who
This is the
gets
competition committee.
Yeah,
I know.
McVay.
So who's on? Oh, McVay.
I mean, McVay.
I'm trying to see which way
that
the
guy
winds
is-
would blow here.
And your boy's new this year too, McDermott.
Sean McDermott. I was surprised. I'm like, I didn't know that a coach on the hot seat could be appointed to one of these committees.
This is the McVay and the McVay tree and McKay and Atlanta, all these people. This is that guy's. How long has he been on the cover? You've been doing these updates.
I didn't even
Rich McKay.
until his name came back up with the Belichick Falcons things.
Yeah.
I forgot that he still worked for Atlanta. I thought he was just an NFL employee.
I'm telling you, McVay is probably going to fight for this. Sean McDermott will fight against it. Like, how many defensive coaches versus how many offensive coaches?
I think
are
Tomlin's
on
on that committee too.
Kind of in the middle.
Yeah, I'm so perplexed by this rule. I will never accept it.
This is a massive show debate. Headlines, we have those, right?
Oh, sure. First, our Anthony Kim drought ended, and now our Mississippi Valley State men's basketball drought is over as well. They were 0-27 this year on a 29-game skid dating back to last season, but it all ended last night in glorious fashion against Prairie View A&M.
Andre, that's game! And that will be game! And that will be game! And that's Downfield that first win! First oh, we stormed the court! We're storming the court! We're storming the court! Oh my God! Oh my God! That's a complex! Delta Devils pick up their first win! Delta Devils pick up their first win! Shout out Coach Ivory! And the Delta Devils will improve to 1-27, 1-14. In a swag! What is you saying?
These are two
He
young.
just stood up.
These are two young dudes. I'm guessing they're student broadcasters. They are far better than passes to 4, now on to 2, and she shoots it. They had the best night of their life. For those who have not seen the video yet, storming the court's a loose term. It was like 13 people relatively safely going on the court and then almost immediately leaving the court as well.
Wait, can we back it up? What was the 1-24?
That's their 1-27, 1-14 in the SWAC.
And they just won and get the automatic bid? No,
This
they
is
just won and they're
won.
celebrating. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
no, they just won.
Because we're getting into automatic bid territory.
Yeah, no, we're
these
not there
days.
yet. Not there yet.
Wait a minute. They were calling the game,
Correct.
and that's how it sounded.
That was the game was like an 8-point ending. It didn't matter. One kid missed a shot at the final horn. That was it.
So I guess we could just scream and yell. And
Here it comes. Here comes Grandpa.
Tell you,
and
blame Romo. Romo's the one who's making this
Yeah.
okay for everybody.
Yeah, well, all his millions of dollars. Now everybody thinks they could just scream over each other, and that's a call. That's not a call. It's far from it. It's ridiculous.
I couldn't tell if the guys were calling the game and storming the court. Like, it kind of sounded like they had their phones out, like taking selfies and storming the court.
I thought they were doing a watch along. The way it sounded, it sounded like they were just cheering and
No.
watching the game like fans.
This broadcast is so advanced that at the end of the clip, it actually cuts to the camera at the table, so you can watch them make the end of this call.
Well, at least it's better than some of these calls we get where the engineering is all off. You get that,
of course, Pete.
Or the number 5 passes to number 7.
Yeah.
We had that.
No one has an updated roster. This is something.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys want to take this away. Again,
Oh,
court
no.
storming.
Hold on,
I
Miss
do.
Court Storming.
ridiculous.
This
Court storm.
The court storming is the least of your concerns here. It was, again, it was gentle. It was not
It was
mayhem,
gentle.
and it was over very quickly. A lady was carrying a baby in this court storming. Everyone was safe.
So it's not
okay?
a court storm. Was it a court shower?
It was like a quick visit.
Those scattered
meandered.
showers. Yeah.
court scattered
A
shower.
court drizzle. Yeah.
Yeah, sun shower. Really.
Not that it matters after all of that, but we jump to the pros and maybe new Rookie of the Year competition for Wemby.
Paul Hawkins now working on Sabonis. Oh, he gave him the okey doke and then went with the flipper underneath. Showed it to him, brought it back, left him in the dust for the beautiful runner on the right-hand side of the rim. Hawkins is putting on a show.
Jason Jackson, Heat Radio. Jaime Jaquez with 26 in Miami's 121-110 win in Sacramento without the suspended Jimmy Butler and the injured Tyler Hero.
How does that guy last to 18 in the draft? Is he just penalized because he stayed in college?
Probably.
I think that was a big
ridiculous.
part of it. People
Yeah.
also didn't think he could shoot from 3 and
All of a sudden he can.
go
The
to
Heat-
Miami. All of a sudden you could do things nobody thought you could
Do
do.
anything.
They're liquid Terminator. They won't die. They're like the Baltimore Ravens defense. They're not ever going away.
Also, you
Ever.
didn't have to be drafted.
Yeah,
You go to the Heat, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You G League, fine.
This guy
3 years in G League.
He was like 16th, 17th pick. This is like the blue chipper of Miami Heat players. They're used to getting guys who were, bagging groceries.
Gabe Vincent? No, this is like Jaime Jaquez. He was actually like a tournament darling.
This is like the LeBron James of Heat unsung heroes.
There was a playoff game. I looked at the roster. 11 of the 14 guys had been on the G League on the Heat, and they were in the Eastern Conference. I mean, they were in the finals.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable what happens. You put on that uniform, and all of a sudden, you're a winner. It's annoying.
I still don't accept Heat culture if you put it on a jersey,
How about
as
the
they
court?
do. But there's still
They wrote it on the court.
There seems to be something going on down there that they do well.
Just put a big picture of Eric Spoelstra on the shirt.
Exactly.
That's the culture.
Because we all need it, we've got more details on this Cam Newton fight from over the weekend. It apparently began during a 7-on-7 football game on Saturday. Cam's team lost that game. And according to TJ Brown from the winning team, Cam started talking smack when they were back at the facility on Sunday. It continued while Brown's team was playing. Cam was watching. So afterwards, as the one team is leaving the field, this is where the video picks up, where Cam is at the top of the staircase. That's when they came back together and the fight starts. Newton and the Brown brothers used to run teams together. That relationship fell apart, and now apparently they're enemies.
Yeah. The trash talk that's alleged here is, I'm not saying that Cam deserved to be punched. You never deserve that. But this trash talk seemed like it was kind of legendary.
Yeah, about
Cam.
how much money I got.
Yeah, I've got a lot of money. I own you. I own this. I own the team. All that stuff. I could see why someone would be upset. Again, you can never put your hands on someone.
Nor should you try to punch Cam Newton because, like, as we saw, he can handle 3 or 4 grown men like they are children.
Also, no lies detected. I mean, Cam's real rich.
Yeah,
so
that too.
He's like, I'm never going to run out of money. It's like, you're right.
Things are looking up for Cam.
Well,
I think he's going to figure it out in this world.
I know.
It strikes me, by the way, that 7-on-7 is becoming like AAU. It's kind of like, and I don't even think this is a bad thing, kind of a wild scene, like kind of entertaining. I love 7-on-7. Have you guys ever watched 7-on-7?
Yes.
It is awesome.
They're so cool.
And actually, I'm sorry that Cam got in this fight, but adding intrigue to this, like, I don't know, I'd buy a ticket to a 7-on-7 tournament in Atlanta now.
And I think one of the things Perloff talks about all the time, which I agree with.
Just watch from a distance.
I don't know if I agree with being in the circle of this.
Binoculars from the parking lot, for sure.
But I think these kids are really advanced, I think, in terms of the quarterbacks, especially because of these tournaments.
And the wide receivers.
Like, they could spin it, and these receivers, like you said, that has helped the game for sure.
However, offensive linemen, big step back between this and college. Apparently, they're not doing anything except for eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because the offensive line play stinks.
Well, I think if you're good enough, athletic enough tackle, you get out there and play some 7-on-7. I would love to make the guards play 7-on-7. That would be even more entertaining because they're all wide receivers and cornerbacks right now. I've heard legends by it. You know who the greatest 7-on-7 player is? The two-way guy for Colorado, right?
Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter apparently used to play on like 7 or 8 different 7. He'd get paid
like a ringer?
Yeah, you get paid like $10,000 a game to go on your 7-on-7 team.
Oh, wow.
And just like, can you imagine trying to cover him in a 7-on-7 game? It's pretty crazy.
No.
So I think
getting paid $10,000 just to show up.
That's an urban legend.
Okay.
But I do think that Cam is adding, like, all of a sudden, I think this is going to become a thing. Like, Cam's 7-on-7 team, he should go in this direction and make it a big deal. Be like, who wants to take me on? Why not?
Take me out on the field, and then we'll fight in the parking lot
Yeah,
after.
exactly.
Did you guys yesterday discuss the aerodynamics of his hat and all of this yesterday?
It stayed on.
It's a witch hat, first of all, a wizard's hat. I don't know what, but it stays. It doesn't even move.
I think it has something to do with how his hair is under there. Because, like, as a woman wearing hats, like, you got to take a few things into account when you want to wear a hat for fashion. And I think his hair is long right now, and he wears it kind of like bundled up on the top of his head.
Up in the hat.
And I think it's kind of holding it.
Interesting. And you do that as a lady?
Well, I'm just saying. I think I'm a little more skilled in this area than y'all.
Fair enough. But the hat company should get involved in this. Like, if you're going to get into a fight in our hat, your hat's staying on. Like, that's a sturdiness that the hat should be celebrating.
Well, here's the question. Did the glasses stay on? Because he wears glasses, too, and that's usually a big no-no for a fight.
Wait,
take
it a step
you can't
back.
punch a guy with glasses on. That's a rule.
Maggie, have you ever worn a big formal hat? I can't pick.
I'm a big hat person.
Like a Kentucky Derby hat?
I've got stuff like that. Don't you guys remember on the live stream?
Yeah.
I was rotating hats like every 2 minutes.
Like big fancy hats? I don't remember that at all.
I've got fancy hats.
You also wore a helmet at one point.
I did wear a helmet.
That was pretty funny. That was a really
Wait,
nice.
I need to see these pictures. Of
I got the poop emoji hat back here. I wore that yesterday. I'm not wearing it
And got
today.
compliments, so maybe you should wear hats all the time.
Those big hats, though, like the big hat.
Yeah, no one can look good in
Nobody
those.
looks good in those.
Giant
Everyone looks like an
cowboy
idiot.
hat.
What's that?
That giant cowboy hat you could put on.
I have a cowboy hat. The PBR people, the professional bull riders, gave us hats.
Right.
They're back in the office.
Do you want to wear a hat though in a fight? Like, I don't know if I feel like that would hurt my chances. It doesn't hurt Cam because nothing hurts Cam. He's the Incredible Hulk.
I think it just get knocked off. I don't think it got knocked off and falls out of the back of the end zone and you lose possession.
And you guys want to change that.
If the hat comes off, you lose the fight automatically, right, Bogus?
Yes.
That's different rules in the end zone.
It's more punitive when it's in the parking lot. That's the way it goes. Thank you, Bogish. Coming up, we've got new starters for some NFL teams making our predictions. Plus, coming up at the top of the hour, Peter King, legendary NFL writer, has called it a career. Announced his retirement yesterday. He will join us at the top of the hour. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, man, it's been heated today. Every argument is just a lot of raised voices about... I put a poll up on my own personal Twitter feed because
Yes.
I want my own curated audience here. Fumbling out of the end zone. Should they switch possessions? I think it's insane, but apparently the NFL is going to stick with this crazy rule. You and EJ are all for it.
I like it, but it's funny. I think I know what's going on a little bit, right? You and I at least, I think we've been watching this Patriots Dynasty documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And so Peter King's going to join us at the top of the hour, just announced his retirement yesterday from doing his weekly column. And then at the top of the 9 a.m. Eastern hour, we're going to have the director of the Dynasty who did this 10-part series about the Patriots. I'm telling you, watching that documentary will make you like antsy, or not antsy, it will make you agitated.
Definitely.
Yeah, because it's not just, and this has nothing to do with like my team getting its butt kicked by the Patriots all those years. It's not about that. You go into a different mode. It's like, wow, this was so much angst, so much turmoil. This seems so awkward behind the scenes. There seemed like nothing outside of the winning that they kept doing. There was like nothing fun, nothing good about playing for the Patriots.
Well, I think
maybe not nothing good. That's a little harsh. But.
And we're going to have the director on. I think he will admit they pulled out the exciting parts. There was probably all sorts of boring times that didn't make it. No, to be honest.
Wednesday at the water cooler? I don't know, dude. There's an agita about this team that is really palpable.
Right. But there were years that were just solid. 2003 to 2004, they got about 34 seconds on the dot.
See, I don't think so. Well, okay, the rise of the dynasty, okay, those were the good times. But then you also have Scott Pioli, who was in the front office for the rise. And he says that winning became such a drug and narcotic for them that you were not getting any pleasure out of the winning. You were only getting relief that you didn't lose. And there was nothing fun. He makes it sound like there really was nothing fun about anything after the first one. And the second and the third was so much about defending your territory and proving that it was real and going for this dynasty and all this stuff that it became like they didn't seem like they enjoyed even the first part, the 3 and 4 years.
It's funny. I took a different thing away from the documentary. I think Bill Belichick changed after the third. And that's specifically, they said after the third one, Belichick became a different person. And I think everybody changes. That was my overriding thesis, that people change with success. I think there was a pleasant sense. You see Brady and Belichick hugging like crazy in the first 5 episodes.
After they win.
Then they don't get anywhere near each other in the last 5 episodes. So I think there was a little bit more peaceful time that is not explored earlier on. You're right. In the second half of the documentary, it is tense.
No, but
I think the first part,
Brady was like an abused dog.
But the year they beat the Panthers, the year they beat the Eagles, I don't think it was like that. I think that Brady and Belichick were much closer.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, Pioli says, winning becomes like a narcotic, it's a drug, and you have to keep feeding it. And he goes, and you'll do anything to do that, and then it goes right into Spygate. And I think you're right about Bill changing. I think it was after Spygate he started to change. He actually seemed like he was somewhat okay with the media through the first couple years.
Yeah.
Then he became they said he became paranoid, not just about the media after Spygate, but about everyone in the building, because Eric Mangini turned on him, a former assistant. And apparently all the other assistants, it was like an unwritten rule. Hey, you leave the Patriots and you leave Bill, but you keep your mouth shut about the videotaping the sidelines. And Mangini stepped out and actually called Bill on this BS. And that made Bill not trust anybody.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the documentary did not have like a fun afternoon riding around town with Gronk. There was probably a lot of good times mixed in with all the drama.
I forgot when Belichick took the Gronk cruise. All right, coming up, Peter King just announced his retirement from writing about the NFL. He'll join us next.
You're in a 5 minute.
Okay.
Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He can run the 40 faster than Tom Brady. He got a perfect score on the Wonderlic. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Lots going on in the NFL, Perloff, but the world kind of stopped for a moment because we got some big news. And no, this wasn't, where is Russell Wilson going to play next year, or whether Justin Fields is going to get traded. No, the world stopped for a moment because our friend and mentor, the one and only Peter King, announced that he was retiring from writing his weekly column yesterday.
Yeah.
This was a big moment.
It was huge. I can't believe, with all the things going on in sports, everybody I know texted me about this story. Nothing about the Bears draft pick or who's running at the combine. Everyone's like, wow, did you see the Peter King news? Which I think is a testament to Peter.
Okay, well, the man himself has agreed to join us today, fresh off the retirement news. Peter, congratulations. I would say congratulations on a job done, because I know that's one of your favorite lines. But congratulations on an amazing career. How you feeling this morning?
Well, I feel great this morning, having my morning coffee, just finished my oatmeal and walnuts, and just relaxing a little bit here in Brooklyn. About to take the dog out for a good walk up to Prospect Park, and life is good.
Well, then that means nothing's changed, and I don't even believe that you're actually retiring. But before we get to your career and some of the amazing moments you've had over the years, you retired, and then you also kind of hit us with something else in that column, which was you believe that the winds are sort of swirling around the Bears trading the number 1 overall pick and sticking with Justin Fields. Explain yourself, sir.
I really don't know what's going to happen, Maggie. I think it could go either way, and I've not talked to Ryan Poles, so I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm experienced enough at this to know that at this time of year, that especially when you're about to go to the scouting combine and you believe strongly that there is a quarterback in this draft. And look, we all know that quarterback science is incredibly inexact. But if you believe there's a quarterback in this draft, I mean, last year, if you were Ryan Poles, you were looking at a 5'10" quarterback that you weren't sure was going to be able to transition to the NFL. You had the number 1 pick, and C.J. Stroud, who was being dogged by a stupid intelligence test, processing test called the S2. So there wasn't quite the sure thing. And look, maybe Ryan Poles won't think that this quarterback is the sure thing either. And in my opinion, absolutely unequivocally, I think he should keep Justin Fields. And I think he should build his team. I put a scenario in my column last week where essentially I believe that Ryan Poles could end up with 8 or 9 picks in the top 2 rounds of the next 2 drafts if he trades the number 1 pick in this draft. And so you say, well, wait a second, that quarterback might really be good. And let's just say, Maggie, that the bird in the hand is a B quarterback, that Justin Fields is not ever going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Maybe one year he's 8. Maybe he averages out to be about 12. I don't know. But let's just say your quarterback is good enough and provides you with some great moments. Imagine if you have a team around him like the 2023 Kansas City Chiefs. And to me, I would rather build a solid team around a good quarterback who might not be great than take a chance to get a quarterback who you think has a better chance to be great than Justin Fields. But and then, basically take your chances with that guy. So to me, I'd hang on to Fields if I was Ryan Poles.
Peter, we were looking back at your career over the last couple of days. A lot of people have, looking back some great old columns. You've been writing since the early 80s, so you've seen the sure things in the draft, and Caleb Williams is one of those. Who's the ultimate, over the years, sure thing quarterback, either that you were or people were telling you, like, this guy cannot miss?
Well, I mean, one of my best memories, and knowing where we are right now, one of my best memories as a writer for Sports Illustrated was taking a VHS tape with 30 plays of Peyton Manning and 30 plays of Ryan Leaf and taking them around to 6 quarterback experts around the country. I took him to Mike Shanahan, took it to Bill Walsh, took it to Phil Simms, took it to a couple of GMs. And took it to Sid Gilman, one of the greatest football coaches of all time, in his dotage in Southern California. And I watched the tape and I asked them all to give me the quarterback who you would take if you had the first pick in the draft. And it was 6-0 for Peyton Manning. And I wrote about that. And I remember Bill Polian called and he wanted to know some of what the guys were saying and everything like that. But here's what I remember about that. Coming back, writing this story, and one of my editors at SI saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I said, "Why?" He goes, "Because the world seems to like Ryan Leaf a little bit better." I said, "Hey, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm just reporting what these brilliant people said to me." And it turns out I was right. But at the time, ESPN, the magazine, wrote a long story about how, in essence, if the Colts pick Peyton Manning, they'll be sorry. And so, at the time, it looked like Ryan Leaf was the man. And obviously, we know how that turned out.
Peter King is an award-winning journalist who announced that he is retiring from his weekly column. Yesterday, he made that announcement. He joins the show right now. Talk about quarterbacks, Peter. Who's the best one you've ever seen?
Well, I'll answer that in 2 ways. Number one, the best one for winning and for leading and longevity without any question is Tom Brady. And I don't think anybody could really have a question about that. The best quarterback that I ever saw in terms of being able to dominate a game and make you lose your breath was Dan Marino. But the best quarterback for modern times is Patrick Mahomes, and I don't think there's any question about that. And one of the things I marvel at with Mahomes, and I wrote about this in my column on 4th and 1 in the Super Bowl, he had a play where he could do 3 different things. He could throw to Travis Kelce running across the formation. He could throw to Rashee Rice, basically finding a hole in the defense somewhere. And both of those guys were open enough. But you know what he did? He said, "I'm taking this myself." Patrick Mahomes is the humble, but also he's the guy who was the best athlete in your high school, who, when the basketball game was down to the final seconds, you say, "Just give the ball to Joe and let him make something happen." He's the quarterback on your football team. Just give the ball to Joe. He'll make something happen. And that's exactly what Patrick Mahomes does. And the other thing that was great about that moment on 4th and 1, I asked him, said, "What's going through your mind in the huddle? If you don't make a yard, you lose the game. It's over. This is sudden death. As Sean Payton told me, this is match point." And Patrick Mahomes said, "I never thought of that." I mean, and that's what great players do. They don't clutter their heads with silly stuff that sports writers think.
Peter, we're having the director of The Dynasty on later about the Patriots, and you're all over this documentary. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Yeah, they should give you royalties or something. You're in this thing a lot.
But there's some mysteries that are not totally answered. There's a lot, Spygate, Deflategate, Malcolm Butler, there's some mysteries out there. What's the story since you've been covering the NFL that you feel like you just did not get, that you wish you had gotten, that there's still truth out there that you haven't been able to discover or that other people haven't been able to discover?
Well, Andrew, probably the biggest mistake I made in my career that I regret to this day, and when I think about it, my heart sinks, is I confirmed the ESPN story about the deflated footballs after Deflategate first hit the scene. It was a Monday night, and I called 2 people who I was sure would know exactly what happened. and they both confirmed the ESPN story. And so I wrote it, talked about it, and it turns out I was wrong. And that brought me a lot of shame. And that really bothers me to this day that I was wrong, because it doesn't matter that who I talked to. It doesn't matter who told me anything. It's my rear end on the line when I say something, when I confirm a story, and I was wrong. And that's something that will haunt me, really. It bothers me, literally bothers me to this day. But having said that, I've always thought that in that case, that was Roger Goodell killing an ant with a sledgehammer. Because I wrote this at the time that Tom Brady, for the previous 10 years, had been allowed, when he had home games, his equipment guys had control of the footballs. And when you go on the road, your equipment guys didn't have control of the footballs. And that had been happening for 10 years in the NFL since 2006. And I will never forget this. It took me about 4 hours one night. I figured out it didn't take me 4 hours. It took me a while. I figured out that his passer rating in away games and in home games over that 10-year period. And it was something like 99.8 to 99.5. It was the same.
Yeah.
It was the same. And what really ticked me off about that is that, Roger Goodell commissions this study, and the study says it's more likely than not that Brady had a role in these footballs being doctored with. Well, first of all, it didn't mean anything in the first place. And second of all, you don't have absolute proof that he did have something to do with it. That always really bothered me a lot, both ways. Me screwing it up, and I think the NFL screwing up the discipline.
Well, but Peter King is joining us, announced that he's retiring from his Football Morning in America column, his weekly column. He announced that yesterday, and he joins us now. Seems like your relationship with Brady, though, is fine. You went to his home in Montana, somewhere in Montana, post Super Bowl, and got to talk with him, and it seems like you guys are on good terms. You just spent a lot of time with the Chiefs, right? And you're with Andy Reid, you're with Patrick Mahomes right after they win the Super Bowl, just a couple weeks ago. The Chiefs are trying to go for a three-peat. What can the Chiefs learn from the Patriots, whether it's something they want to do the same way that New England did or do differently than New England did? Because New England is the last dynasty we had, and the Chiefs are trying to be the next one.
I think I would answer the question in a slightly different way, Maggie, in that I think the Chiefs have the answers to the test right now. And you know what the answer is? It's a guy who Chicago Bear fans probably still revile to this day. And that's Matt Nagy, the former head coach and now the offensive coordinator of Kansas City. And you know what he does for Andy Reid? He's his film nerd. He looks up plays in his massive file of plays that when your offense is in trouble, and their offense was in a huge funk this year. And so what does Matt Nagy do? They're playing New England. They're struggling mightily on offense. And they had practiced this play that Matt Nagy had found that was 80 years old from the 40s, from a Penn Columbia football game. And they had this weird formation. And I was at the game, and I'm watching the game, and I'm saying, what is this? It's Patrick Mahomes lined up in a 3-point stance behind the guard. It's Jerick McKinnon lined up as the quarterback, and all these other players lined up, in different spots. And you can see the Patriots are doing this. They're looking all over the place. Bill Belichick prepares them tremendously. But unfortunately, Bill did not scout the Penn Columbia game in 1942.
And that will haunt him forever.
That stupid Bill Belichick, right?
Yeah.
He didn't scout that game. And now here, the Kansas City Chiefs, totally in trouble on offense, run this play. It's the first touchdown of the game, and they go on to beat the Patriots. I only bring that up because, look, the Kansas City Chiefs, like New England, did not have a great wide receiver and did not have a great running back through most of their Super Bowl era. over the last 2 years. The Chiefs don't have a 1,000-yard rusher. They don't have a 1,000-yard wide receiver. And yet they've won 2 Super Bowls and gone 7-0 in the playoffs since Tyreek Hill walked off campus. What's that all about? It's about winning with what you have and being smarter than the other teams. And right now, that's what Kansas City is.
Peter King is joining us here for a couple more minutes. Good enough to jump on the day after he announces that he's retiring after 40-plus years of covering the NFL. And, Peter, you said when we were texting yesterday, what am I going to do? Well, Perloff and I have come up with the top 5 things Peter King should do in his retirement. Are you ready for our top 5?
I'm ready. Let's have it.
All right, let's get the drum roll going. Number 5, ayahuasca.
Oh, I can go to Peru and do ayahuasca with Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
I think I would rather be in a pitch dark house for 5 days with Aaron Rodgers.
Number 4, you can begin the next 40 years of your career covering the XFL.
No, I'm not covering spring football. Get out of here. I'm going to go to spring training in 3 weeks, and that starts my retirement, quite honestly.
Number 3 on the list of 5 things Peter King should do in his retirement, become an honorary Kelsey brother.
Yes, I could do that. You know why? Because I'm wild and crazy, and I am willing to take my shirt off in front of 80,000 people and pound my chest. The one thing I can't do, I can't leap into a luxury box the way Jason Kelsey does. But yes, I'd be very good at that otherwise.
Number 2, switch to decaf, Peter.
Hey, look, I have no caffeine after noon every day now, Maggie. So this basically is it. This Italian roast right here. That's it for the day, and then I'm off it.
And the number 1 thing Peter King should do in his retirement, get blackout drunk.
Get blackout drunk. Yeah. Well, the last time I did that, I was at Ohio University and I fell asleep in a snowbank, and luckily somebody woke me up. So, or else there would not have been the Peter King career.
Peter, I want to add, by the way, that you've got a lot of thank yous. You don't even know the role you played in my bizarre career, and you've laughed at the trajectory. In 2004, before I got hired by SI, you and Paul Fichtenbaum took me to a Mets game, and you gave me the thumbs up to be your editor. Huge mistake on your part. And then I was part of the dream team with you and Paul and Don, and nothing but amazing memories. And thank you.
Yeah, we had some fun, Andrew, and you were great.
You
were an incredible editor of the column. You were very, very conscientious, and you were very good, because I used to file copy with 16 typos in it.
Yeah.
And then it'd show up and, wow, your copy's so clean. I said, yeah, I'm so conscientious.
Well, I told Maggie before the show, no one wanted to edit you, because everyone, if you made a mistake, Paul Tagliabue would call Terry McDonald and be like, hey, what's this that Peter wrote? So all eyes were always on your Monday column. So we put a lot of attention, but you were amazing to work with, and you're such a great writer, too. I know a lot of people have been saying that, but I know we feel that way, too.
Yeah, and Peter, quickly, I mean, people have been saying this about you for a long time. Your eye for talent is amazing. You understand what great writing is. You've seen and fostered and mentored so many great people. You believed in video, too, at Sports Illustrated, which a lot of people didn't. You were generous with your time when we were starting a digital video department. You've always been on the cutting edge of things like that. You've wanted the new technology. You've wanted to expand the circle. And not a lot of people are in that position. So from my vantage point, thank you for legitimizing in a lot of ways what we did at SI Video and on the digital side. Because if you didn't buy in, nobody was going to buy in. And you did. And that made it, that made it cool for the other writers to do it too. So thank you very much for helping us.
Hey, Maggie, one last thing I would say.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really important. And if you're a young journalist listening to this right now, please diversify, because you have absolutely no idea what the future holds. You don't know how stories are going to be told. When Emily Kaplan went to college, she lived in my town in Montclair, New Jersey. Emily Kaplan, now who does the stuff between the glass for ESPN, who we hired at the MMQB at Sports Illustrated. I told her, do something different every year. do a podcast one year, write for the web one year, write for the school paper, do TV. You know why? You just simply don't know what the future holds. And that's really the advice I would give some young kids right now.
Peter, thank you for this. We appreciate it. We're still going to call you, by the way. You might be retiring
I may
from
not
writing.
pick up, but yes, you can call me.
We're still going to call you because, we've got questions about Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. Like, we can't exist without, your expertise.
Better idea. Lunch in Brooklyn. You, me, and Maggie one afternoon soon.
Let's do it. But no, Maggie likes being back in Jersey at 11 o'clock in the morning. She'll never have lunch in Brooklyn. Forget it.
That never happening. Not even for you two. Peter, you're the best. Enjoy spring training if we don't talk to you before then. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Peter King.
Wow.
I know.
Long time with Peter. Yeah. You have no idea. The little post-traumatic 3 a.m. Andrew, I'm going to file another 4,700 words on that Broncos win. I'm like, he's like, I talked to Peyton Manning, Emmanuel Sanders, Gary Kubiak, Mike Shannon. The guy could talk to everybody and got great quotes out of all of them. So he was hard to edit because it was so darn good.
I mean, and he's like coming up, he's got the game-winning play. What it's called, where did it come from? Corn dog, a variation on corn dog. It's like you're in the locker room, and that was one of the great things he did.
I do agree. There's not going to be another Peter King because the industry's changed so much. You don't have time to write like you used to for magazines. The economy of the industry has changed, so it's kind of. I don't think we'll ever see another Peter King. Although Peter, you're right. He's pretty much everybody who's good now worked for Peter at some point.
I mean, he gets it. He totally gets it and is generous with his time. Okay, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. So Peter said that the Chiefs already have the answers to the questions about can they pull off a three-peat. We'll dive more into that. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the Armed Forces, DoD veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. All right, we are in the post-football Defensive Player of the Week era.
Are we, though? I mean, Dante DiVincenzo could start at safety for the Bills. I mean, the way he took out one of the Thompson twins last night. I never remember which one. Asar?
It was Asar.
Yep.
And then plays
okay.
for the Rockets.
But let's talk about real sports and not Knicks Pistons.
That's your team.
Knicks are better than your team. What are you talking about? Both of your teams, actually.
If there's anything below 0 on the scale of what America cares about Knicks Pistons, I would like to find that. It's got to be one of the tall guys in college basketball. That is my
Zach Edey.
Zach Edey, or the that Creighton kid, or those
Creighton lost. They got
yeah.
crushed by St.
Or
John's.
what is it? What's that team that has the two gigantic guys? I saw them play the other day.
UConn?
No, I'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I
maybe,
just know it's a
not
lot.
talking about UConn.
There are a lot of tall centers. It could be UConn. There's a lot of
Don
7 foot.
McClingan,
Could have been
Filipowski.
player.
I have no idea. All of a sudden, I'm catching up. Actually, I think it's Creighton. It's the two tall guys, right? And they lost to St. John's,
right?
Also, so I think it's one of the 7 foot college basketball centers. Is that
I think
specific
EJ
enough?
went to the NBA for this one.
Okay.
And I'm trying to read your mind, and I'm coming up with...
Wemby had a lot of blocks.
Yeah, would he do Wemby just to drive home the point that Perloff will likely be driving to San Antonio to apologize to Victor Wembanyama for calling him Wembustyama. And this dude just keeps getting better and better like every month.
So the defensive player this week is Jaden Ledee, who, if you don't know who he is, you need to figure him out because he is the star of San Diego State. A team went to the Final Four last year. They won on Saturday, beating Fresno State 73-41.
Whoa.
They held them to 41 points. Jaden Ledee in that game had 3 blocks on his own, 11 rebounds. He is not a 7-footer, so Perloff, you're still wrong on that. He's only 6'9", but he's a ferocious player in the paint.
I don't know. That's in the genre.
Oh, no, he's like a tweener. I don't even think he's 6'9", to be honest. But he's listed at 6'9". He had 22 points in the game as well. But he really spearheaded what was a ferocious defensive performance. Fresno State shot just 24% from the field for the game. In San Diego State, that's what they do. They just put you in an anaconda vice, and that's what they did to Fresno State. So Jaden Ledee, defensive player of the week and a player to watch in March.
Yeah, you wonder why nobody wants to watch the men's tournament. Everyone's talking about the women's tournament when you have to give us a Fresno State defensive player of the week. What are we doing here?
It was San Diego State, not Fresno State.
I
sir.
know. I'm just saying.
They went to the Final
come
Four
on.
last year.
Don't tell me who I have to watch. Give me.
Oh, I'm trying to win you some money. What are you talking about? I'm trying to help you. I'm telling you, hey, people who are not watching college basketball, Jaden Ledee, he's pretty good.
Oh, I'm
probably
sure,
an All-American.
I'm sure Vegas hasn't adjusted to how good he is. That being said, this NCAA men's tournament, oh my God, good luck filling out your bracket, EJ, or anyone. This is impossible
that's every
at this point.
year, but
no, it's so much different now. It's so much different.
Well, no, it is different, but I was never close when it was the Blue Bloods. I don't pick the wrong one.
Me too.
In the wrong year.
Yeah.
So I listen, here's the thing about the tournament. I always agree with Seth Davis when he says the tournament doesn't need stars, it makes stars. It could be San Diego State. It could be Fairleigh Dickinson.
No.
It could be St. Peter's. It doesn't matter.
It does.
It's always going to be fun.
It does, because last year we had Miami, Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, and UConn.
Yeah.
I just don't think you're making as big a stars when there's nothing even approaching dynasty teams anymore. I think the Blue Bloods.
UConn might win again.
The reality is, I think the Blue Bloods leaving the scene is going to hurt college basketball.
UConn's a blue blood.
Yeah, it kind of is. I think the Final Four is important. I think what we've learned is people love the Cinderellas probably up to a point. So once you get to like Elite Eight Final Four situation and you're still having your Florida Atlantics of the world, that probably isn't the best for college basketball.
Take it up with Kentucky. I mean,
I know.
Take it up with it's on these teams to win.
Well, turn the channel to the women's game where we got some names we know. I just think I do think Duke and North Carolina specifically are that kind of. I mean, they were both recently in the Final Four. It's not like they've disappeared altogether.
Carolina went to the finals,
but I do think that you really kind of do need those blue bloods. I agree with EJ. You love the Florida Atlantics, but you need a couple Kansases to balance them out. Last year was weird. And UConn is a blue blood, but a technical blue blood. I don't know if they're the same as Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke.
Well, I mean, maybe it doesn't go back to the 60s, but it goes back to the early 90s.
But
I think that's good enough.
Are there a lot of national UConn fans? I'm not sure. Were there a lot of national Kentucky fans, a lot of Duke fans, North Carolina
I think
fans?
when UConn is consistently sending people to the NBA, definitely.
I disagree. I don't think there's a lot of UConn fans in Wyoming.
Well, maybe the women's team. I mean, between the women's team and the men's team, I think that, you kind of add them both together. I think they have such a huge national profile.
And if you do think of household names in college basketball, I feel like UConn has had a lot of them. Kemba Walker, Shabazz Napier, Rip Hamilton, Ray Allen, Ben Gordon, Mecca Okafor. Like these
Khalid
are
El-Amin was awesome.
Yeah, Khalid El-Amin. Like these are like what you think of college basketball. You do think a lot about those guys.
I think there's a difference between them and Kentucky. I just think.
Well, Kentucky goes back to Adolph Rupp in the 60s.
Yeah, I think there's a level below. And if you're talking about pros, I mean, you just had to pull out Shabazz Napier, who had a good tournament, but still, I mean, there's legends from Kentucky.
Yeah, but that's more of like I think a recency thing because like UConn has had great players recently. Just their blue blood era started later.
Yeah, also, I don't know. They're also stuck in the sort of northeast corner of Connecticut. I don't see them as a national force. I don't think they drive ratings like Duke does, obviously, or Kentucky.
Well, maybe not, but I think ESPN being in Connecticut always helped a little.
Yeah,
too.
I think the women's the women's is exciting.
But is UConn that much off of like Kansas? Like you
Kansas,
keep bringing Duke,
you're right,
you keep bringing Duke, UK, and UNC. I think those are the big three.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are Kansas.
Well, UCLA should be in there too, but they've kind
Does UCLA drive ratings like
No,
UK does? I don't think so either.
I think you nailed it. The top three is Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina. Then the next tier is Kansas, UConn. I'd put UCLA in there. Who else is in that list?
Gonzaga.
Gonzaga's getting there for sure. But you're right. And I think Duke is actually alone on a tier.
How about Michigan State?
Yeah, they're struggling right now, right? Izzo's on his way out. I mean, the other thing, North Carolina and
Indiana, historically.
If Duke's not there, they're like the Yankees. Does the whole sport suffer with Duke not being a championship team? Maybe.
Andrew Bogish has headlines for us. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. And apparently Kenyon Martin hates George Karl more than I hate the NFL's fumbling through the end zone rule. Karl,
that's impossible.
Well, wait for it. Karl was Denver's coach from 05 through 13. Kenyon was there for most of those seasons, all of which ended in early playoff exits, which Martin blames completely on the coach.
How we get to the playoffs every year? Wasn't because of you, dude. We made the playoffs it wasn't because of you. Talent got us there. We got there despite of you. Like, you were a handicap to us. If we had a different coach, we win a championship. You were handicapping us as a team because you think you more important than us.
Kenyon also threw in a bleep you and bleep the horse you rode in on. He was on Gilbert Arenas' podcast.
I don't mean to laugh. It's just a visual of George Karl on a horse.
Seems possible. Carmelo Anthony was on a different podcast recently and said Karl called him overrated. Martin didn't like that either.
Brown had a hell of a rookie year, but Melo led his team to the playoffs as a rookie. So in the Western Conference, which was a lot harder at the time. So how is this guy overrated?
Yeah.
And how you comparing guys? So coming in, right? And this is, he did it there, he did it to Boogie, he did you got your mind made up about guys before you step in the building.
Good times. That Nugget reunion.
Oh, man.
No wonder they don't bring those guys back to the championship celebration.
Think about the Denver Nuggets. What's the first thing they did? They gave 15 to Jokic. I mean, they maybe didn't know what Jokic was going to be, so that's even worse. It's like you end up giving it to a second-round pick from Serbia, who we're not sure if we're even going to see, and they gave Melo's number. I mean, obviously, there's like some other things going on within the organization in these guys. The George Karl stuff, though, I saw George Karl reacted to that. The Melo thing. I always thought what George was doing was trying to motivate Melo, like, oh, you're not this, you're not that. Kind of like trying to do like a Belichick with Brady. Like, I could get Johnny Foxborough to come over and make that pass. Like, Melo was just off a national championship. Maybe he was trying to take him down a peg or whatever and try to motivate him like, oh, you're not one of the greats.
I think the problem, though, is that as someone who followed Melo to the Knicks, that criticism continued after Melo left. And he talked about they were better off when they had those other guys because they were more of a team. And it seemed like he couldn't let that go, which I think is why there's this animosity from Kenyon Martin, who feels like there's something personal there. I wish they would figure this thing out and just squash this, because I think those were semi-enjoyable teams, and the dialogue and the discourse with this team is no longer enjoyable. It is vicious, as you heard from Kmart there.
I mean, even the Legion of Boom doesn't go this far.
I know.
They clearly have issues. Anyway.
And Karl keeps doing this, right? Doesn't he keep saying things about the Nuggets, about the NBA, angering everybody?
And it's weird because he's coached a lot of other teams that got, I guess, closer in some ways, but he doesn't seem to talk about those Bucks teams had so many issues, we should have went further, or the Sonics. He always seems to harp on the Nuggets situation, which I don't know what that's about. But
yeah, to me, by the way, I George Karl could do no wrong because he coached my favorite team of all time. The
Houston Cougars?
The 96 Sonics.
Oh, right.
My God.
The 2024 Pistons?
The second you guys say the 2000, the Carmelo Nuggets, my mind just goes completely blank. That is as forgettable a team as I think there is in the history of the NBA. The Sonics teams are amazing.
Yeah.
Actual NBA action last night. Miami won in Sacramento without Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero, 121-110. That's 4 in a row for the Heat. The Nets smoked the Grizzlies, 111-86, and the refs screwed the Pistons out of their 9th win of the season. A non-call let the Knicks score the winning points with 2 seconds left for a 113-111 final at the Garden. The 49ers still need a defensive coordinator. They've already interviewed Brandon Staley and passing game specialist Nick Sorensen. And Kyle Shanahan expects to meet with at least 3 more candidates, which is why he is not at the Combine. And the Buccaneers are releasing edge rusher Shaq Barrett with a $15 million roster bonus looming next month.
By the way, I could guarantee something that would make people upset and maybe EJ really upset. What if the Niners fired Steve Wilkes and hired Brandon Staley? What is your reaction to EJ Stewart?
Oh, that would be my reaction.
That's like a Bilotti reaction, just groans.
Oh, man, isn't it funny that they're interviewing Brandon Staley? I think they want to hire this other guy, Nick Sorensen, but that is comedy.
Is that the former Chiefs
safety,
Nick Sorensen?
So
it's related last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
It took us 5 minutes to figure it out.
I think they have
5 real-time minutes.
I think, and I kept thinking that they were related, but then I looked it up and it looked like they weren't.
They're not related?
They both were white safeties who played around the same time, but they weren't related somehow.
That's impossible. You're telling me Nick Sorensen and Daniel, right?
Yeah. I was looking for Wikipedia. They're right about everything, right? I kept waiting to see the reference. Oh, hey, his brother played for the Chiefs or cousin played for the Chiefs, and it just never came. And I was like, I guess they're not related.
It's hard to tell, but it's Daniel, right? Was a Chiefs guy.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You never actually saw his face because you always saw that 49 running backwards as his wide receiver ran into the end zone.
Daniel Sorensen was he was like Ryan Gosling in Remember the Titans, just always getting burned.
Oh, my God. I couldn't believe it.
I'm just waiting for Petey to come in to take him out, to take out Sorensen. I'm like,
is he handsome, though?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. He's always under a helmet. Ryan Gosling was the worst defensive back in the history of football movies. He couldn't cover anybody.
And
I think he was
went
just following orders.
And then right to be Ken.
Have
the
you ever
doll.
seen people break down Vince Vaughn's running style in Rudy? Oh boy, it's even worse than Ryan Gosling because he's full 6'4". He doesn't bend down at all. Just gets walloped every time he gets a carry.
Maybe that could be our next great debate. Instead of the best, the worst movie character athletes. The guy from Blue Mountain State or whatever throws the pass.
Oh.
Was that a bad one?
No, there's what's his name? Is it Taylor Lautner, right? In one of these movies, you've seen that famous clip of him throwing a football and he's a quarterback. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think that might be Valentine's Day, that movie with Taylor Swift and all of them.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure that's the movie.
Oh, no.
That might be
I've
the
seen
worst
that.
quarterback I think we've seen in a movie for sure.
Yeah. Bad sports can ruin any movie. One of my favorite movies of all time is called Basquiat with Jeffrey Wright, who's nominated for an Oscar this year. He shoots a basketball in that. I'm like, oh no. Him and Benicio del Toro go to shoot baskets. I'm like, you're ruining the entire movie because your form is so bad. You've obviously you're an actor. You've never touched a basketball in your life. You got to be careful. I think we should definitely do this worst performances. I mean, Uncle Rico could spin it, by the way. Can we talk about him for a second? He looks like a real quarterback.
No, while you're watching an art film. Could Uncle Rico spin it? I don't know. Now that guy was in White Lotus. I think of him differently now.
Oh, nice.
I guess, I don't know, does Ryan Gosling count those? I think he was purposely trying to be bad.
I thought he sort of picked up his play through the season.
No, in the championship game, he's like, hey, I suck. You got to put Petey in. He's much better. Because Petey got benched, essentially, because he didn't want to go in the game. He did a Scottie Pippen. And then they put Ryan Gosling back in the championship game. He's getting burned again. And he's like, Coach, you got to take me out.
Right. I couldn't remember.
But this is the wrestling problem. It feels like EJ doesn't realize that this is a movie. And when anything was happening, because he was told
100%.
to do that by a script. Like, it's not real life. It wasn't a documentary. Right?
But the actor could protest and be like, "No, I'm not gonna be this bad."
Yeah, look, Ryan Gosling 2020s is not doing that script. I guarantee you.
They told Michael B. Jordan to throw an interception on Friday Night Lights. He's like, "Nope, I'm not throwing that." And they just couldn't complete the scene. They're like, "Fine, you get a completion, Michael."
Ryan Gosling is making sure he's Jason Sehorn in a new version of the River Titans today.
Here's your second Houston Cougars mention of the update. They're now number 1 in the new AP poll, the 5th school to get there this season, partly because they beat Baylor over the weekend. Those Bears at number 15, a 62-54 win at TCU last night. In U.S. women's soccer losing to Mexico and California 2-0 to finish group play at the Women's Gold Cup. Both teams already in the knockout stage, so the result really means nothing, but it is just the second time Mexico beats the U.S. The previous time was way back in 2010. Guys, back to you.
We're slipping. All right, coming up, thank you, Andrew Bogish. Coming up, the biggest question that's going to be answered at the Combine. We'll get to that next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, running backs in the NFL. Perloff, it was a huge story last year that a lot of them were getting, frankly, kind of insulting contract offers or just getting straight up franchise tag. That does not seem to be the case this year. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry. None of these guys are going to be franchise tag, according to the insiders.
But that's a negative. No team wants to spend the franchise tag on these guys because they look back last year and say, why did we tag Tony Pollard in Dallas? There's no way that guy gets $10 million this year.
No, but to be fair, that's a Monday morning quarterback. We just had Peter King on because at the time everyone thought, ooh, Tony Pollard is ready to step up into this role. The fact that he accepted the tag, signed it quickly, kind of saved the Cowboys a headache.
Right, but now tags are too expensive, and that's why, because I think the running back value is as low as ever.
So let's answer this question. Out of that group I just gave you, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, who do you think would be the biggest difference maker for a new team, or maybe they could re-sign? Who do you think will be the biggest difference maker next year?
Well,
I don't mind.
This is tough because Saquon will get the most money, so I guess he's the biggest difference maker, but I don't want him. I
think the answer is Josh Jacobs, and that's the answer.
Josh Jacobs?
Yes. I think Josh Jacobs, if it were me, I would want Josh Jacobs. Now, I think that he has an ability to run between the tackles. Yeah. He can also catch passes. Josh Jacobs is shockingly young.
Yeah.
We can play this game if you want. I can tell you how old these guys are, and it's going to...
25?
26. I mean...
That's not young for a running back.
I think that's...
You're 1 year away from the magic number, 27.
Well, I don't know how long I have to sign. I think the number's not 27. I think it's more like 29.
Ooh, I don't know. Ray Rice was 27.
Well, there were other things going on with Ray
But
Rice.
if he was younger, there wouldn't have been other things going on. You know how the NFL works. If he's 22, then he's back in the NFL.
Well,
I'm just saying
that
generally...
situation got a lot
saying
more complicated.
There's a cliff. I've heard 27 is the number 30 for wide receiver. Here's the thing. You look at a guy like Josh Jacobs. He averaged 3.5 yards a carry last year.
Well, on a terrible team.
So what?
Put Josh Jacobs on the Baltimore Ravens next year. You don't think that's going to be a weapon?
Why are they going to pay for Josh Jacobs? They don't need to invest there.
This is something that's plagued the Ravens year after year. Is their running backs always get hurt, and you need a better run game out of them, and instead a lot of it falls on Lamar Jackson.
I think that I don't want to pay for any of these guys. I know I'm ruining the point of this. I honestly, Derrick Henry is fascinating to me because he's such a weirdo. He's such a freak. He's such an exception to every rule.
He's 30.
But he's an exception to every rule.
Or 29, I guess.
I think all the teams are looking at these price tags. They're saying, wow, the Lions use a first-round pick on Jahmyr Gibbs, and he's the most explosive player in the league. He averages 5.3 yards per carry.
Yep.
Different situation. They have David Montgomery to be the bell cow, and then when they want to get some yards, they put in Jahmyr Gibbs. So I think I'd almost rather have a rookie than any of these guys. I know it's not a great rookie class, but I go young and I stick young and cheap because none of these are real solutions. Josh Jacobs, you have to pay pretty good money. Is he really going to be a difference maker in Baltimore? Is he any different than Gus Edwards and all these other guys?
I don't think you're actually going to have to pay big money here. If it's $7-8 million, I'm willing to do that. That's not breaking the bank for me. For depending on what team I am. If I'm the Houston Texans and I just have come off this great year, and I love Devin Singletary, and I wish the Bills had kept him, but that's neither here nor there. I want to help and make sure that C.J. Stroud continues to make strides. Of course, you need another receiver, but you're telling me that Derrick Henry can't help them? Austin Eckler couldn't help them at the goal line?
I just think that we do it so often. We always overestimate the free agent running back. I'm just thinking last year, everyone's like, whoa, Dalvin Cook is the missing piece on somebody. And I said, it's just you cannot underestimate how little impact these veteran free agent running backs have made historically.
No, you're right about that, but we're no longer in the Le'Veon Bell getting $40 million to go to the Jets. We are so far from that.
Even Dalvin Cook at barely any money was a waste of time. It just does not seem to work no matter what you do. The running backs on their second team so rarely make a difference.
Well, I think we are going to see, besides these guys, which is Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, I think they're all going to find homes, but of course they are. But I think you're going to see this boomerang back to taking running backs in the first round is no longer going to be maligned because, to your point, Perloff, taking a running back anywhere after 10, 15, whatever, you just have them on these cheap contracts for the first 4 years with a fifth-year option. And then after that, you don't likely want them back anyway. You just said it's the second contract for these running backs where things get hairy. So we, as the media, generally, land-based teams that take running backs in the first round, especially in the top 10. But I think you're going to see it a lot more.
Yeah, I mean,
moving forward.
Number 8 for Bijan was probably rich. Problem is this year is not a great running back class. I looked at Kuiper's big board from last week. Jonathan Brooks out of Texas is still number 1 on his big board, and he tore his ACL in the fall, kind of late in the fall. And then Trey Benson is number 2. He's the only guy I've seen on a mock draft. It's a hard year for first-round picks. Last year, there were 2 studs. So I love this theory, and I like 5 years of control. I'm not sure the player is there this year.
A lot of people think Tony Pollard, who we spoke to at the Super Bowl, will be heading to your Philadelphia Eagles.
I like it.
Kellen Moore is your new offensive coordinator.
DeAndre Swift was 5th overall in the NFL last year in rushing, and he wasn't even really full-time the whole season. So I don't know. I like it, but I'm a fan as a cold-hearted analyst. These veteran free agent running backs never work, Maggie. We always do this mistake. You're right. Go for the rookie.
Coming up, the craziest part of the Patriots dynasty, the director of the dynasty, Matthew Hamachek's going to join us next. It's amazing, Doc. We'll get into the nitty-gritty next. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's the reigning Fortnite champion. She's a Call of Duty legend. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Well, we just can't get enough rehashing the Patriots dynasty, Perloff. It still holds a lot of intrigue. There's still a lot of secrets out there and things that we want to uncover and things we want to know about a successful yet very flawed team and how they not only made it to the top but stayed at the top. And there is a new documentary out. It's a docuseries. It's called The Dynasty, New England Patriots. It is directed by an Emmy Award-winning director. He's also been an Oscar-nominated producer and editor. His name is Matthew Hamachek, and he joins us now. Matthew, congratulations on The Dynasty. It's coming out 2 episodes at a time. It's on Apple Plus. Thank you for the time today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. And, you know, we're big fans of this. We've been talking about it, about your work in the documentary. Let's get into it for our audience. What is the thing about the Patriots and this dynasty that you're the most proud you uncovered or dug deep on? Because, like I said to Perloff just now, we know a lot about the Patriots, yet there's still so much intrigue. There's still so many secrets surrounding that organization.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. When I started this, I didn't grow up a Patriots fan, so I really didn't know all that much about the team, right? I had my own team. And so what we realized as we started to get the sort of 70 plus players, front office execs, league officials, rivals, to sit down and start talking is that not knowing a lot about them let us listen and let their stories come out. And I think the thing that I found was that the one thing that really hadn't been done before in an interesting way is to sort of get beyond the X's and O's and find a way to tell this from the human perspective. And yes, football is obviously a large part of this because it's the thing that drives the plot of the series along. But the thing that we kept coming back to as we listened to these people talk is a deeply human story. And I think you're left in a lot of ways with something that almost feels like, you know, Shakespeare, but with footballs in a lot of ways. So I think that, you know, as we shape the story, that's the thing that we found most fascinating.
Matthew, who is your team? You're not a Patriots fan?
No, I'm a Packers fan.
Oh, well, that'd be a good documentary.
Yeah, well, we're excited for the next one.
Yeah.
Get to work, sir.
Although it's going to be tough to match the Patriots. The thing that struck me about it, when you were coming in, there's so many gigantic chapters in the Patriots, 20 years, Spygate, Deflategate, Malcolm Butler, et cetera, et cetera. Did you have an idea what was going to be the focal point? Did you have in your idea, wow, this is one story that I know we're going to hit hard?
Well, I think, you know, anybody that follows football in any way, shape, or form knows that, you know, that there are incredible successes in this team, but then there's also things like Spygate, there's things like Hernandez, there's things like Deflategate, and yes, immediately anybody you talk to, even when you spend time interviewing people in Boston and people say, what are you doing up here? And you say, well, I'm working on this thing about the Patriots. I say, well, I sure hope you solve what happened with Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl. But again, you know, the thing to me is, how do these stories that are part of the Patriot dynasty speak to the people that are within the dynasty, people that were in the rooms making the decisions that led to these incredible successes, but also what about these people and about what this sport brings out in them also led to this thing unraveling into some of these darker chapters in the story, right?
Matthew Hamachek is joining us. He's an Emmy Award-winning documentarian, and he is the director of the Dynasty, New England Patriots. Because you mentioned Malcolm Butler, let's get into it, because there's a lot of things that we love to talk to you about. So Malcolm Butler is obviously the hero in the Super Bowl against the Seattle Seahawks. Then he plays Perloff's Philadelphia Eagles, and after playing 98% of the snaps all season long, gets stonewalled in that game. Why?
Well, I think that if you talk to most of the people on the team, and we asked pretty much everybody that sat down in the chair who was around or even not around when this happened. And a lot of them don't know. And I don't want to spoil anything for the people that are listening or watching right now, but there is a person who, in our 9th episode, when we deal with this, I think gives the biggest hint yet as to the reason why this happened. And I think more importantly, what you start to realize, and this is from my perspective, sitting in the chair and talking to the players who are there, is how mentally exhausting being part of the Patriot program was. And I think they all bought into it and went through that because every year they knew that they could compete for a championship. So, in 16 they went up against the Falcons, and this is the incredible 28-3 comeback game, right? And so that made everything worthwhile. But the question that sort of lingered was, if you go through a season that has this much tension in it, and there was tension in the building, really, and what the players talk about at least is this incredible tension between Bill and Tom by that point in time, leading up to that Eagles Super Bowl. And then eventually, what happens when you lose, right? What happens when the sort of winning cures everything sort of aspect of this story doesn't continue to happen? And there's a journalist that we talked to who was actually in the locker room after the Super Bowl against the Eagles, and half jokingly, but also half serious, sort of says that it almost felt like there was a mutiny within the team after that loss because of how much it meant to them, and how they felt as if they had given one of the players talks about, I felt like I had put my body, everything on the line for this, and to not even get an explanation at the time as to why this decision was made. He says, I feel like we got cheated a little bit. And
but they won next year though, Matthew.
Yeah, no, they did. And look, that's the thing, is part of this story is sort of how they accumulate more Super Bowl trophies, despite the fact that there's all this inner turmoil as they do it, right? And that's what makes the story so compelling, is not that it's just this simple tale of, hey, they didn't make it and everything fell apart. They were still winning as they continued to go through all of this.
What struck me as really interesting, and you mentioned it directly, that Bill Belichick, you said, changed after the third Super Bowl, started to change, how success changed his people. I could see it physically. I was watching early Belichick. I'm like, that's a different person than the Bill Belichick I know. And Brady changed towards the end. That, to me, I'm sure you could take that to any sport, any form. People change when they have that level of success. Did you notice when you were looking through the footage that you were different people in 2001 than 2019?
Well, yeah, and I think one of the things that we tried really hard to do when we were making this thing is always to make sure that as you're watching it, you can always see the world through the eyes of sort of all of the characters, right? So we never wanted this to be a thing where you said, oh, well, here's a person who's clearly a villain and here's the person who's clearly a hero. You want to be able to watch these people and say, well, even if I don't agree necessarily with the decision they made, I understand why they did it, right? And part of that involves, humanizing these people. When most of the time when we make documentaries, what we do is we take these very small stories and people that we've never heard of, and you sort of build up their stories and build them up to be larger than life. But when you take a story like this that people sort of feel like they know really well, and these characters that have been built up over time into godlike figures, in a way, you humanize them a little bit more, right? You make people understand why they're just like us, even if they happen to be going on the biggest stage imaginable. And so, you think of the scenes where we do a flashback in episode 1 to Bill Belichick as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and you get to see him running around and playing with his kids, and it's a side of Bill that you've never really seen before, right? And you understand that there's more to this person than just the guy who says we're on to Cincinnati. And that's important for you to understand, because you need to understand where he starts and eventually where he ends up. Because, you don't want to make a series where each episode is its island into itself. You want to have basically a 10-part movie that arcs over the course of, almost 10 hours.
And Matthew Hamachek is joining us. He's the director of the Dynasty New England Patriots. And I think that ties back into what you're talking about, even going back to Malcolm Butler. There was Bill asking the players to do everything. Don't talk to the media. Don't give them anything. Don't question me. I know what's best for the team. It's always for the team. And then he did something that was not best for the team. And it felt hypocritical. And that's like when some of the veneer starts to come off. But to Perloff's point, they won again. They beat the Rams, and they got a 6th Super Bowl. So, Matthew, let's go to the Tom Brady part of this. If you could rank these 3 things to what most annoyed Brady to least annoyed Brady, I'll give you 3 things. Belichick not backing him up during Deflategate, drafting Jimmy Garoppolo, and not letting Alex Guerrero have full reign of the building. Of course, Guerrero is like Brady's body man. They have TB12 together. He's sort of his body guru. From most annoyed to least annoyed on those 3 things, how would you rank them?
What I would say is this. Tom speaks for himself in the documentary, so I don't want to put words into his mouth. But what I gathered from talking to both his family as well as him, and you can sort of watch them talk about this, is that I think the Alex Guerrero thing was very significant, because in the episode that's about to air, episode 5, Tom, this is the first game of the regular season in 2008. Tom goes out with an injury, and he's out for the entire year. And what he realizes is that the show goes on without him in the NFL, and especially with a coach like Belichick, who can take anything that's in front of him and make something out of it. And so Belichick went 11-5 without Tom Brady. And this is as he's facing his football mortality for the first time. And it was at that point, after that injury, he started to come back, when he said, I'm going to play forever. And his bond with Alex Guerrero really started to form to a greater degree than it had in the past. And on the other side, you have this coach who's always sort of saying, I'm looking at the data, and the data says at a certain age, every quarterback falls off of a cliff. So there's this inherent tension there. Belichick's ready to move on to the next thing, and Tom is trying to basically hold on to something until he's 45 years old, and he's determined to do it. And so, I think when you see Tom talk about this in the documentary series, and talk about it in a way that he really never has before, how much to say frustrated is putting it very lightly, that Alex was essentially had his privileges revoked from the team. And that is part of that 17 season that leads up to the Eagles Super Bowl. I think when you combine that with this idea that Tom and the Garoppolo stuff sort of folds into this, but Tom has always been somebody, at least in his mind and of his family's mind and his friend's mind, has always been somebody that's been looked over, whether it was at Michigan, whether it was the 199th pick in the draft, whether it was this idea that there was this guy coming in who was going to replace him. People have constantly doubted him. And at the same time, Tom has always been willing to subjugate his ego, right? He's always been willing to in one journalist's mind, sort of be the punching bag for Bill Belichick. And then at a certain point in time, and a lot of people talked about this as sort of after that the Falcons Super Bowl, where he comes back from 28-3, he's already served his 4-game suspension for Deflategate, that there was this shift, right? That this guy who had been willing to always do what was best for the team, always willing to subjugate his ego, that perhaps he changed after that. And so, like I said, the things that make up this series, yes, football is a part of them, but they're really not about football. It's about the people that are in the story and how they interact with each other.
Okay, so it'd be Guerrero 1, Jimmy G 2, and then 3 would be not backing him up during Deflategate.
We're talking to Matthew Hamachek, director of The Dynasty. Incredible breadth of interviews. So many people, including my good friend Tom Curran, gets a lot of airtime. He's wonderful, as always. Who said no to doing interviews? Or did anyone say no?
Not anybody that I don't think anybody did, actually, that I can think of. There's a lot of people that are on the cutting room floor who gave incredible interviews. Rodney Harrison gave an incredible 3-hour plus long interview, and most of it's on the cutting room floor. People like Rex Ryan, who's obviously one of the most entertaining humans, that's ever walked onto a football field, gave a great interview.
Were you able to find the equipment guys who were involved in Did we get the deflator?
No, and the interesting thing is I never really tried. They were obviously interesting people. Again, if we were making sort of an investigative piece that was did they or didn't they, or something closer to that. But with Deflategate, the story to me, as I started to talk to these people and look into this archive, was that this question of did he or didn't he do it was overshadowed by sort of the spectacle of it. And so what I mean by that is I found this piece of archive with our incredible team of people, and what it is it's one of the national morning shows. And it starts out and it says, the lead story today is the continuing saga in the court battle over, Deflategate and whether Tom Brady will serve his suspension. And then they say, and in other news, ISIS has beheaded another hostage.
Oh, God.
Right? And it became this thing that consumed people on every level, to the point where Jackie Mack, one of the great sports journalists, says, did he do it? Probably yes. But what in God's name are we talking about here, right? And it became something so much bigger than 2 pounds of air pressure in a football. And the question is, to me, is in a way we turn the lens on the audience and myself as somebody who at the time was, we were all laughing at the courtroom sketches of Tom Brady and things like that, right? We all enjoyed all of that, and we consumed it because we have a very interesting relationship in our country with fame and success, and we sort of want to take the underdog and build them up, and then the second that we also want to see them fall just as quickly, and that's part of the story. It again gets into something a little bit larger than just the X's and O's or the PSI levels of footballs.
All right, I would just ask one quick football question, Matthew. I know, put on your football hat. I watched all of it. I still don't understand how this team won 6 Super Bowls. I mean, the Randy Moss year, yes, and they didn't even win. But the rest of it is a bunch of 7-yard slants to James White. How is this team go 14-2 and win all these Super Bowls? They're not more. I know Michael Jordan. I could watch that dynasty, and he was dunking on everyone's head. The Patriots, it's such a thin margin. How they had this sustained success, even after watching it, it's still amazing to me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that what made this team so unique is that they never cared about things like how they appeared, meaning Brady was never saying, "Oh, I'm going to master how to do a no-look pass because it's going to look great on TV," right? He was always willing to do the least sexy thing if it got them to win, right? And that's sort of what the story starts out as a group of people who come together and selflessly say, whatever it is that's going to make the team better, we will do. We're not going to worry about anything else. And that helps sustain this incredible run for almost 20 years. And then very slowly, the things that were sort of the foundation of this team and what led to their success on the football field, they start to crumble towards the end. And that's ultimately what pulls them apart. And, as a fan of football, the thing that always struck me about this team is that it really is exactly like you said. It's the intangibles. It's things that you just can't really see that actually allowed them to continue to win. And they did it in what a lot of people sort of say is almost an unremarkable fashion, right? It was sort of this cold-hearted, we're gonna get on the football field and do what we need to do and go to work every single day. And as somebody said, they really weren't inviting you to a party the way some other teams do. There really was no party. I'm quoting a journalist who said that. But that's part of, I think, was probably frustrating for a lot of people about watching the Patriots, is they sort of always kept you at arm's length. You never really know who they were, and letting them sit there and tell me and now the audience the story is sort of what makes this unique.
Well, Matthew, you sat down toe-to-toe with Bill Belichick and you lived to tell the tale. At one point, he calls you out like, "I'm not answering that, Matt." I mean, Bill Cutt's an intimidating figure. I can't imagine that was very fun to interview that man.
I don't know if fun is the right word to describe interviewing. Well, interviewing Randy Moss is fun, I guess, but it's fascinating. And look, yeah, Bill's an intimidating figure, but here's the thing: in the episode that just aired, the 2007 season, where they go undefeated and then eventually 18-1 against the Giants in the Super Bowl, after they played the Redskins that year, the score was, I believe, 45-0 in the fourth quarter, and Belichick and the Patriots had the ball. It was fourth down. In any other situation, any other team would probably kick the field goal, but they went and scored the touchdown. And afterwards, a reporter said, "Well, what do you want me to? Why'd you do that to Belichick?" And he said, "Well, what do you want me to do? Kick a field goal?" And so my approach to Bill was sort of similar. It was, everybody else had to answer all these hard questions. Why would Bill be any different? And you just have to, ask him questions just like he's anybody else, because that's sort of the approach that he had with everybody he went up against is he never took it easy on anybody. So I sort of feel like the way to respect him is to be tough with him. We're
up against a break real quick. Does the documentary answer the question, who's better looking, Jimmy G or Tom Brady? My wife weighed in last night.
Okay, what does she say?
Team Jimmy G. I couldn't believe it. 2016, I think they were both peaking, by the way. That is the height of the Patriots' good-looking dynasty.
Hey, look, the question is, how does Tom Brady keep looking better every year, right?
That's your next investigative piece.
It's Benjamin Button right there. He's aging in reverse.
Yeah, I think we probably know the answer to that. By the way, Drew Bledsoe also not a bad-looking dude who starts off the documentary. So it's actually been a dynasty of handsome quarterbacks that the Patriots have had as well. Matthew Hamachek, congratulations. We both love it. It's great. The Patriots kicked my team's butt for 20 years, and I still like watching it. So that's a kudos to you and your team. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Appreciate that. And you can watch it on Apple TV+.
Wow. A vote for Drew Bledsoe. 6'4", built like a Greek god.
Well, he ended up being a Bills quarterback, too.
Yeah. No,
Didn't really get him on the good side of that
was great
arrangement.
He was really great in the documentary.
He is great in the documentary.
Yeah,
He's
really honest.
The human side of that, and that today, there's a couple of things here, right, about obviously you and I look at this through like a media lens a lot of times. And there's a couple things today that just would have been they were big then, and they would just be huge now.
Yeah, with Twitter, oh my God.
One is the Belichick, the Bledsoe, and getting benched and coming back. And it was big then. Don't get me wrong, it was big then. But also just idea of Belichick sticking with Brady once Bledsoe got hurt and then came back.
Yep.
How and
that Super Bowl week was crazy.
And then the fact that Bledsoe came in to beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship game, and they still went back to Brady for the Super Bowl.
But they didn't know until right before the Super Bowl. Like the whole media kept guessing. By the way, I was at the Spygate game.
You were?
I was at that game.
Opener?
I was at that working for Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
We had no idea.
Against the Jazz.
I was at the David Tyree game, and I was at the Ravens playoff loss, which I saw the other day with you.
Yep, you and
that
I were
was
there.
Great. I was
Lee
at
Evans?
Yeah.
Is that the Lee Evans catch?
I can't remember.
We were at
no,
both.
there were two of them. There were two. No, it was the one where Ray Rice ran for 70 yards on the first play.
That was like the third. Ray Rice also converted like a 3rd and 32 or something on the ground. There's a couple different ones.
I think it was the first play from scrimmage. Ray Rice blew out a hole.
Maybe.
I was also, I think you and I were at the Texans blowout loss together. Blowout win. They killed Houston, made it to Foxborough, and they wish they hadn't. Because it went real bad.
Well, you and I were at the Tebow game together.
Oh, wow.
That was a blowout when Tebow was playing for Denver.
Yeah, and this also this is all our friends, this entire documentary. Tom Curran, Albert Breer, Peter King. It's like who's who. I was looking for you the entire time because there are a lot of talking heads, and you get into a lot of these documentaries, Maggie.
When you do a daily show for 10 years, you
at SI,
you do headlines a lot.
I couldn't find you yet, but I haven't watched every episode, so I hope you make the cut. I hope you're in there.
The world will go on even if I'm not there. I always have the Johnny Manziel doc. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Coming up, the college quarterbacks eligible for this draft, what we're going to see at the combine, not from necessarily Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, but the other guys who are going to be going in the first round. We'll tell you about them next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, this portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. My X's and O's strategic theory. Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Why did Patriots dominate so much? Not because of Tom Brady.
Right, as we were just had the director on of the Dynasty.
Yes.
You could
not because of the defense was so sound and really good, a lot of stars. I watched the documentary, The Dynasty. All 10 parts. One thing stood out to me. Tom Brady had such a good offensive line. He had so much time, and that's because their coach, Dante Scarnecchia, was amazing. And they could draft offensive linemen anywhere and build a wall for Tom Brady. I think that was a big part of it. Then he retired in 2019, and the whole thing fell apart. So I didn't see a lot of Dante Scarnecchia, but I think one of the reasons Brady was so successful because he got rid of the ball fast and the offensive line was so great. You could never just take out Brady. So I think that was frustrating your Bills and your Jets and all these teams. It was really hard to get to Brady. That was one thing that stuck out to me. There were a lot of highlights where Brady was just sitting back there, just looking at everything. To me, that was one of the major distinctive things about this Patriots team.
Yeah. What's interesting about that is sometimes they would start off the season and the offensive line wouldn't be very good, and it's like they would get better as the year went on. I also think it's that Brady helped them so much. I mean, no disrespect to Damian Woody and is a great Matt Light. Like, he had really good offensive linemen, but I think that Brady really helped. Like,
I don't think so.
You have because what's a classic Brady drive? Until they got Randy Moss and he basically says, all right, just go deep, Randy, and I'm just going to find you. A classic Brady drive is just 5 yards, 7 yards, QB sneak, 5 yards, hand the ball off. It's never anything pretty. That's what the director, Matthew Hamachek, said is part of the reason why it's like an unremarkable dynasty. Maybe I'll disagree with that. The way they won some of these Super Bowls and lost some of them were so unbelievable. Last second, plays. I think it's remembered as an exciting dynasty, but like the X's and O's of how they got to the playoffs was never exciting. They were so robotic.
Yeah. They were the Spurs.
Yeah.
But the
Super Bowls were always exciting.
I did watch the episode in the Castle year. Castle would have like 3 pump fakes and then hit a wide receiver 11 yards. Like they were protecting him so well. He talked about that. So anyway, it's just a theory on I love Dante Scarnecchia. You hear about him. He's talked about in these elevated hushed tones as the ultimate position coach of all time. I think that was a big deal. The year 2007 when Brady threw 50 touchdowns, that was just, they were untouchable. Still can't believe they lost to the Giants, by the way.
I know.
I mean, you look at
Giants.
I don't even understand. I watched the highlights again. They were 18-0, 18-0, and they got their butt kicked. It is still crazy NFL history. That's why it's the most highly rated thing on television. It doesn't make any sense, and it's great fun.
Andrew Bogusch has headlines and maybe some gloating. No?
Nah, we'll be a gentleman here. The Toronto Raptors are 22-36, 3.5 games away from the play-in tourney. Apparently, their biggest problem is being a bunch of 8-year-olds. The Raptors just earned a pizza party from head coach Darko Rajakovic for their first 3-game winning streak of the season.
The story goes that I promised our guys early in the season that once we get 3 wins in the road, I'm going to take them to a nice dinner. But since we have such a group of humble guys, they said, like, we don't need any fancy place. We can go for a pizza. But we're going to negotiate. We're going to go, but I'll treat them to dinner for sure.
So they're going to Pizza
I love this
Hut.
guy.
The follow-up.
Chuck E. Cheese, here we go.
Yeah. Meanwhile, did you know, I'm sorry, we talked about Chuck E. Cheese and whether the pizza is good, and you guys were talking about the fights and stuff. And then later that day, our computers are listening to us. I got sent like a YouTube clip about a major brawl that happened at a Chuck E. Cheese, and then John Oliver did a whole thing on it too.
Yeah, you're the last person to realize Chuck E. Cheese is where the action begins.
Is that where Cam Newton's hanging out? Like, what are they doing? The 7-on-7?
7-on-7 and Pizza Hut or Chuck E. Cheese for round 2.
It's the freaking Royal Rumble there. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, say that the follow-up is obvious for our favorite head coach. What kind of pizza do you like?
My pizza is only margarita, simple Italian pizza.
So pineapple is a no-go?
No.
Strong no on pineapple, but beautiful Italian accent from Margarita.
Yeah. By the way, how are the Toronto? You said they're 22-36, so they're 3 games out of the play-in. And meanwhile, the Lakers and the Warriors are like 4 games over 500 or 9-10. So it's the East
Eastern
awful. I never even noticed how bad the bottom of the East was.
Yeah.
They're getting pizza parties.
Yeah, I don't know about that pizza. It might weigh you down a little bit. Like something lighter, like a salad.
Yeah, it's still my Sixers have no chance in this conference, and the Raptors are going to be in the playoffs.
Not your Sixers anymore.
Well, now his
My
Pistons might have a problem.
I guess there's 8 acceptable teams in the East. The Magic at 32-26. After that is when the nosedive starts. Bulls 3 games under, Hawks 7 games under, Nets 13 under, and then your Raptors.
This is a year where like they should just not do the play in the East. It's like, we have 8 good teams.
Yeah.
We'll just put those in. You guys, you didn't play well enough. You're done.
So the NFC is bad compared to the AFC, and the East is bad compared to the West. Is that where we're at right now? All right.
Pretty much.
The Knicks are now even. They lost a game in Houston because of a bad call. Now they win one because of a bad call. Josh Hart scoring with 2 seconds left for 113-111 win over those Pistons after the refs did not call Dante DiVincenzo for fouling Asar Thompson going for a loose ball right before Hart scored. The officials admitting post-game that they did make a mistake. The Bucks are releasing edge rusher Shaq Barrett for salary cap space. He had a $15 million roster bonus due next month. Duke head coach John Shire says Kyle Filipowski is still sore from Saturday's incident at Wake Forest. Filipowski does not have a diagnosable injury, but his status for tomorrow's game with Louisville remains uncertain.
I have a theory about why some of these coaches, I think, are jumping on the John Shire ban the court storming stuff.
Because they're logical humans?
No, because no, they're basketball coaches.
Because they care about people?
They're used car salesmen. No, because it's like, Duke is the team, like in your mind, right, that gets the court stormed on them the most, right?
Yep.
Because you beat Duke, it's like a big deal. So I think a lot of coaches want to just align themselves, like, oh yeah. We also want to ban court storming. It's like no one storms the court when you play. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Absolutely.
aligning yourself with the blue blood.
Yeah, exactly. If you're, I don't know, Vanderbilt, you're not going to be like, no court
Guys.
storming here. Yeah.
It's enough already with the court storming. It's nobody asked you, Baylor.
Yeah. Oh,
sorry.
wow. You knocked off Virginia Tech. Congrats.
I got an idea.
Baylor, you might storm the court for.
How about we storm the exits instead? Do it in reverse. That is, everyone's safe, everyone leaves, but you can celebrate in the parking lot.
There you go. Right into oncoming traffic. It's out the door, right into the highway.
Not to tear up old wounds, but do you see Jay Billis's idea, which is just as soon as they get on the court, just say, all right, you are all detained, and we're going to give you all citations as soon as you step on the court.
Can we call this the Bronx Tale? Or as soon as you get on, they lock the door and go, now you can't leave. And everyone's going downtown, and we're going to all get citations. He goes, and then this would end tomorrow. No, it wouldn't.
Citations have not ended anything in the history of American
to a college
law.
kid?
Yeah,
I don't think so. I don't think that's going to have the impact Jay Billis thinks it's going to have.
Yeah, that's less impactful than the idea of not showing streakers on TV because that has stopped people from running on the field.
We never get streakers
Never
anymore because they
happens.
don't show it on TV. And meanwhile, here was the Super Bowl.
I do have an issue, by the way, a heavy issue with streakers. I thought about it after the show yesterday. People running and not looking where they're running is a New York City thing. If you're looking at your phone and you walk into something, you deserve whatever happens to you. And that's why I was just watching Phil Bassey. They're all running and they're looking at something else going 100 miles an hour and running into each other.
Well, that was Caitlin Clark, too. I mean,
it's just like, look where you're going, people. I sound old now.
If you didn't film it, I mean, did it ever happen?
Well, you know what? You deserve to run into a wall and break your nose if that's what happens to you.
I'm surprised. New York is not the only city in America where it's a lot of walking. So other people who are listening to us around the country, you're gonna have the same thing. Like, I'm surprised more people don't run into poles, doors, manhole covers that have been removed. Like, how, as a society, I'm surprised we don't have more phone-related, like distracted walking related injuries.
Like we're adapting as humans. It's just the next phase of evolution, I guess. I don't know. It's just now we know how to walk while not
you've seen the
actually
numbers on
looking
pedestrian
up.
deaths in New York. You know this, EJ. The pedestrian deaths in New York are not good.
What do you say when someone's walking towards you, they're looking at their phone, they're clearly not looking up, and you're like, we're about to? I always go, heads up.
You know what I do? Like I walk right at them, and at the last second walk away, and then do like a pitcher just got thrown up and in, like a guy who just got thrown up and in, like a hitter in the batter's box. Just kind of give him a stare.
Oh, you give him the Jeter.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, just kind of get out the way and kind of just look like, hey, you just threw up and in. Don't do that again. That's my move.
I let it happen.
He wants the smoke.
Just let it happen, and then I could tell you're an idiot for being on your phone while walking.
See, and I know that I'm liable to do the same thing the next day, so I'm not mean to anybody. I just kind of step out of the way and maybe make a noise so they know I'm there.
I can't.
But I'll do that too. I did it yesterday almost.
I have a hard time, like,
And it's
texting
right
and
there.
walking. Texting and walking. What'd you say?
I have a hard time. We understand.
Period. Full stop. You have a problem with everybody.
That's a book.
But okay, you have a hard time texting and walking.
Texting and walking. So I wouldn't want to do that anyway.
How about Bogish being like the only self-aware person here? Is like, no, I do it too.
Yesterday I almost walked into one of those in New York, the like flip up metal grates that like lead to the underneath of a restaurant.
Yep.
Almost walked right into one of those.
Oh my gosh,
that is bad.
Because I was texting and I can't text. Like I can't. My thumbs were used, so I was like trying to type out the same word on the fourth time. I was like, oh, that thing is very close to me in my periphery vision.
Is anyone ever scared even when those things are closed?
I don't walk on them. I don't let my kids walk on them.
Terrified. Yep. See, I walk on them because I guess maybe I like to live dangerously. But then I always think I'm going to fall in like Scooby-Doo one of these days and just go to the ends of the earth. Because who knows where that door goes? I don't think we think it's the basement of a restaurant, but I mean, are we really sure?
Some do have little slides that they like slide the supplies down. So it could end up in a cool ride when you're down into the basement.
Now we're really getting Scooby-Doo there if I slide down something.
I think you just land in like a bed of like
tomatoes,
old cabbage leaves or something. It's like that's why they all stink. Anywho, and there's rats here.
I think the big accomplishment also is texting while holding a baby. That's another thing. Like texting while holding a 9-month-old. Yeah, that's a big accomplishment.
You have to have fingers like Clayton Kershaw. You know, you got to really be able to grip the phone because, like, my phone's too big. Like, it's too wide. I basically am walking around with a laptop computer.
Do you just practice the grips on your phone like pitchers do?
Yeah,
the bullpen.
like throwing a change up.
Yeah,
like Clayton, you'll be good April through September, and then October will be tougher. I love Clayton Kershaw. Went to high school with Matthew Stafford. You guys know that?
We did. I did.
Yeah, I think that's the point.
I've never heard that before.
I can't stand them.
You can't say Clayton Kershaw. Oh, come on, Pete. You really don't like Clayton Kershaw?
Of course not. He's a Mets
Dodger.
fan.
Who cares? He's a wonderful person and a great
Epic
athlete.
series in 2015 where the Mets kicked their butt.
I wish I had 5 kids just like him.
Is there?
I really don't like Clayton Kershaw.
Is there anybody who's not on the Mets that you like?
No, he's a pain in the butt against the Mets.
Wait, that's a great line. I hope I have 5 kids just like him.
Yeah.
That's a line from League of Their Own.
That's right.
Yeah, very good.
Do you like Ken Griffey?
I do. I love Ken Griffey.
We all love Ken
Senior
Griffey.
and junior.
Who doesn't like Ken Griffey? I mean,
Ken
he's the
Griffey
best.
Senior, I'm a little more agnostic on.
not a big Reds fan over there.
I mean,
Perloff?
he was probably great. I'm more of a Cesar Geronimo guy from the Big Red Machine.
Rob Dibble.
But wait, anybody who beats the Mets, that doesn't mean you can't appreciate them
Well,
and be
that's
fans of them.
that's where we differ. Us and you.
I mean, that's so basically the entire National League. I'm not saying everyone beat the Mets. You can't like anyone else on a National League team because they beat the Mets.
You think I'm supposed to like Adam Wainwright? Like,
Yeah.
of course not.
Like,
Definitely not.
no kid's gonna like Adam Wainwright. I mean,
Should I like Greg Maddux? No.
Definitely not.
One of the worst things about being in this profession has been talking to 90s era Braves, and they're all awesome. And I want to
Smith is
punch
so
them all in the
lovely.
face.
the crime dog is the nicest guy.
How about when Chase Utley came into the studio, I walked out. I don't want to like you.
No.
You're not going to turn me. I don't. But Emmitt Smith, I've totally turned.
Yeah. Somehow I
Kick my
enjoyed
team's butt
listening
in
to
the Super Bowl.
Chipper Jones saying that he named his kid Shea after
know.
Shea Stadium. That's what, I would have done the same thing, Chipper.
We had him as a mystery guest during the pandemic, and I was like, this guy's a delight. Damn it.
Fred McGriff. I think he transcends because he played on multiple teams.
And he was on the Tom Amansky video.
Yeah, Fred McGriff, I think.
That's different.
Wait, you
He
guys,
taught you how to hit. and
Andrew
field.
Jones? Anyway, Andrew?
No
Andrew,
way.
Oh, I love that guy.
I think he should be in the Hall of
Great
Fame. I
player.
appreciate his skill, but I know.
Yeah, it was super cool when he got him up 2-0 in 96 on the Yankees, and then that didn't go well. He let us down.
I get it. I hate all the Mets players, except
We-
Pete
we
Alonso.
know.
He's kind of hard to hate.
Well, Pete Alonso is a Labrador Retriever. As a
Yeah, it's
person.
like a big puppy. Just
Wait,
pat him on
wait,
the
do you
back.
like Bartolo?
Oh, I love Bartolo
Okay, there you
Colon.
go.
I mean, that's listen.
He's
I
not
don't
just
care.
a Met, though.
He's on King Griffey.
I think a very tricky one. A very tricky
Who is?
one is Tom Glavine too. Tom Glavine's a
Glavine
great guy.
was a Met.
Nobody is fans of pitchers, guys. Can you name position players,
Oh,
please?
Felix Hernandez is the coolest. King Felix?
Pretty cool.
He was cool.
He won a Cy Young in the team. That was like the first guy who won a Cy Young. in the
Perfect. Didn't he throw a
Didn't
perfect
have a lot of
game
wins.
too?
I feel like chicks dig the long ball. Home runs is what sells to kids, not effective pitchers.
There's some guys that transcend. Pedro.
Some. Okay. You know who? That's Shohei.
Well, Randy
Shohei.
Johnson, I think, is.
Randy Johnson is mad cool. He had the mullet.
I'm just scared of him. Still.
Yeah. You have to throw about 110 miles an hour to transcend. I mean, Tom Glavine. No one's buying a Glavine jersey who's not a fan anyway.
Oh, I am. And
I'll
then,
never
then he
forget-
gave
I'll-
up 7 runs. So
I'll never forget Tom Glavine for
You were
game 162 that season. Ever.
You're so ridiculously old school, people out here. It's insane.
Well, thank you.
You're
I
like
take
a
that as a compliment.
1965 Brooklyn Dodgers fan. I don't
Not
understand
like
your
that.
sports fandom at all.
Yeah.
No.
You're like Pilotti's grandfather.
Yeah, Ken
Currently
Griffey
Pilati.
Sr. How are you a Ken Griffey Sr. fan?
Gary Gerald was too. He was about 90 then.
This poor dude.
Love Gary Gerald.
Yeah.
I fall into the bogus category, by the way. I think I'm going to be around Bilotti, hopefully for years to come, and not understand a word of this man. I just don't understand. I can't wrap my head around you.
I'm old school, and I will stay that way. That's it.
It's just so funny. Like, I'm old school, and my favorite TV show is Alf.
Love Alf. Love Alf.
Yeah, you're old school. You weren't even alive when Hall & Oates was at the top of the charts,
I'm a
and
fan
they're
of
your
Oates.
favorite bit.
Just Oats. Paul can go take a long walk off a short beer.
Take a walk.
Hall is a former Brave.
Take a walk, Paul.
Hall is a fraud.
And his hair. Goodbye.
Can't imagine what you think about Garfunkel.
Oh, I don't like him either.
Oh, that's a specific reference, too.
Big Simon fan. Garfunkel's had it.
Garfunkel's been mean to this time slot.
That's right.
Yeah.
What
Oh,
about,
is that
what
right?
about Bernie? Or Bert? What was it?
Bert and Ernie?
Bert and Ernie, yeah. I combined them because I think of them as
You're
one
talking
person.
like human Oscar the Grouch.
I know.
I was
Bert
like-
and Ernie.
Burn, baby, burn. Bernie Williams.
Bernie Williams.
What do you ever do
What
to
do you
you
think-
guys?
what do you think of
Meanwhile,
him?
nice dude.
Really
It's hard
good
to hate
singer.
Bernie Williams.
Hard to
his
root
guitar-
against Bernie Williams.
I like his guitar playing. I don't like him as a Yankee.
I love about Bernie Williams. This guy was like great player, right? Great player. Derek Jeter told us once he used to wake up, had no idea what city they were in. Taking naps in the clubhouse, go out, no idea what city I'm in, go out, go 3 for 4.
Bernie can give me a good instrumental, but you know what? I'll lay off
Oh,
on
get
baseball
out of
player.
here. Great guitar, terrible glove.
Give me
Leave me alone.
A great instrumental sounded weirdly sexual. 855-212-4. I'm kidding. 855-212-4227. Who is writing checks they cannot cash? We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Very fitting. You play Rick James. We're about to do an update on what's going on with the Buffalo Bills. And that's Deion Dawkins, the left tackle of the Bills, went on something called Vlad TV. I was not aware of Vlad TV's position in the culture. I didn't know this thing existed. And are we better off for it? I'm not sure. Deion Dawkins, basically like a gossip website. Deion Dawkins of the Bills calling out the Jets, Perloff. I didn't see this coming. Let's play cut 2 first, Pete. It says the Jets players don't actually love football.
I'm going to just keep it a buck. I hate them. All of them, bro. They are all some, like, when it comes to sports, right? There's people that play the sport because they love the sport. And then there's people that play the sport just to try to be cool. I feel like they play the sport to try to be cool. Like, those are a bunch of dudes that just want to take pictures on Instagram. Like, that's whack. Like, I play this because I'll die by it.
All right. Also calls out Michael Clemens from the Jets specifically.
Weirdos being weird. Weirdos being weird. You know, I don't even want to give a man no credit talking about him, you know. But number 72.
Michael Clemens.
Michael Clemens.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy. Boy.
Okay. Says the altercation with Clemens stemmed from Josh Allen trash talk.
TV timeout. Clemens is talking to us, really talking at 17. And first of all, why are you talking to my quarterback? Don't talk to my quarterback. Stay over there. Don't say nothing to none of my guys. Just stay over there, son. Like, don't talk to 17. I'm really serious about that. Don't talk to him. Don't say nothing to him at all, right? He's my Chris Myrick. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to defend him by any means, right?
So while I love this as a fan of the Bills, you want your left tackle and your offensive line to stick up for your quarterback. But when Deion Dawkins does interviews like this and he calls out the Jets, which, by the way, why are you calling out the Jets? They're already a pain in the butt to play. You split with them the last couple years. Don't be focused on the Jets and even give them the light of day. Don't let them know they live rent-free in your head. But you do stuff like this. Sean McDermott the other day said it's not a matter of when the Bills will win a Super Bowl or if, it will be when. Sean McDermott says stuff. Deion Dawkins says stuff. It all comes back on Josh Allen. They write checks that he has to cash. And that's what I hate about this, because Deion Dawkins is going to get attention for this interview and calling out the Jets. Sean McDermott's going to get attention because he said they're going to win a Super Bowl one day, and yet all of it doesn't come back on McDermott or Deion Dawkins. It comes back on Josh Allen.
But how? What do you mean? In what sense? What real-world sense is this going to come back? Some random comment in February from Deion Dawkins about a player no one's ever heard of.
No, it's about Josh Allen, the pressure. Josh Allen, the legacy. Josh Allen in this era with Mahomes and Lamar Jackson.
All
and
that's
Justin
there
Herbert.
with or without him talking, though. Why is this going to impact Josh Allen?
I think that it already will be only remembered, this era of Bills football will be remembered as success or failure in many people's eyes, whether or not Josh Allen wins a Super Bowl, not Sean McDermott and not Deion Dawkins.
Right. But so why does Deion Dawkins talking trash? I don't think anyone's going to even remember this by September.
Well, I'm just saying they'll remember it when they play the Jets. And that's probably the season opener if the things have been going the way they've been going the last couple of years.
I would hope that the Jets and Bills are going all out against each other anyway. And then they are. It seems like they hate each other.
They definitely do. Thank you, EJ Stewart. Thank you to Pete Pilati, 2 Jet fans over there. Thank you to Andrew Bogish. Thank you to Rami Levy. And thank you to Colton Gesser. Thank you to Matthew Hamachek. Thank you to the great Peter King.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining.